of March 25th, 2021 to order. Can we all stand for a pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And can I have a roll call, please?
Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
Here.
Mary Scott, Virginia Higley,
Here,
Frank Alimo,
here,
John Petronella,
Here.
Denis Grillo,
Here.
and Richard Suzak is here.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate Commissioner Petronella moving up to a full-time seat. Welcome.
Thank you.
Carmen.
congratulations, John.
Yep. Thank you all. I appreciate that.
Good choice.
And then
Yeah.
I'd like to appoint Commissioner Grillo as a voting member for the remainder of the meeting to cover for the absentee commissioners. And next, approval of minutes. Can I get an approval of the minutes from March 11th, 2021's regular meeting?
So moved.
second,
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Yeah, Commissioner, I have a comment on page 3, paragraph 4. Second sentence, I believe the date, I mentioned the date, I was specific, and I said January 16th, 2020 meeting. And this just refers to as January meeting.
Where was that again, John?
Page 3,
Page 3.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, 5th paragraph down,
Okay,
second sentence.
Yeah.
Where it says January, I believe I referred to it as the January 16th, 2020 meeting.
okay. Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I have one.
Go ahead, Commissioner Alimo.
The last paragraph on 3. I'm not sure if something was left out when Lori was speaking, or maybe she didn't put in, but it says when we were talking about the consultant, it says an opinion was requested and received. I don't know if she had mentioned by the applicant or staff, or I don't remember that being said, or did the recording secretary miss it, or I have that highlighted. It's like, it just says there was an opinion requested and received, not by who or.
I don't think it was ever discussed by who at that meeting. At the last meeting.
Oh, it wasn't discussed, you're saying? It wasn't discussed?
No, it was not addressed. Who made the recommendation?
Okay, so what's here is what it is.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. Bond releases, I don't see we have any tonight. Is that correct, Jen or Lori?
Yep, no bond releases.
Thank you. Continued public hearing 2991 95 Elm Street.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
you didn't open it to the public participation yet.
I'm sorry about that. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak to the commission about any matters in town that are not currently on our agenda? If so, state your name and address for the record, please. Anyone? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Linda. Bond releases, we did continued public hearing 2991 95 Elm Street.
Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray,
Here.
Virginia Higley. Here. Frank Alimo,
Here,
John Petronella,
Here.
Denis Grillo,
Yeah.
and Richard Suzak is here.
Okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record.
Philip Fregamy, 61 Rugby Road, Feeding Hills, Mass.
Welcome back, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, how do you want to do this? You want him to do a recap, or do you want to just jump in to the information that we received from them?
Why don't we give them a little recap, because people may be watching that didn't see the last meeting, and then give us a little bit of what his new plan is.
Was the email we received late today relative to this application? Because I didn't get a chance to open it.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't see what's on there.
All that I sent out was department comments. I can pull those up and read them into the record if you want, or if the commission has already read them, then.
I didn't have an opportunity to go in and see it today. So maybe you can just bring up what's relative as we go, I guess. It's fine with me.
Okay. Bill, why don't you go ahead and just give us a synopsis of the changes and how you addressed the questions from the commission last meeting.
Okay, everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear? Okay. Basically what I did, I had Captain Ellis from the fire department meet with me on site on March 15th of last week. And we basically submitted a redesign of the space, more conducive to addressing all of the comments from the first meeting. We utilized the additional 6 feet that we had in the original drawing to essentially eliminate mainly the concerns with pedestrian traffic. We will no longer be utilizing the sidewalk. Everybody has the new drawing. I'm making that assumption, I guess. I think Jennifer had sent it out. So basically we shortened the space to eliminate blocking the sidewalk, thus leaving it clear and wide open for pedestrian traffic to pass. So we don't have to worry about people trying to go around the space into the parking lot anymore, which I know was a concern at the last meeting. I also took Mr. Petronella's advice. I located a company in Manchester, Connecticut, where I've contracted them to purchase the concrete planters in place of the Jersey barriers. They will make up the same amount of space as the existing Jersey barrier on each side and maintain the same weight as the Jersey barrier for safety. And we went one step further and we are fencing in the entire area with a gate. So there's no issues there as far as, the question of people wandering. Yeah, that was brought up last time. And then we relocated the bollards to the outer perimeter of the fence as well. So basically redesigned this, shortened it, removed some of the tables to make it more conducive to everybody's safety concerns with pedestrian traffic.
Can the commission see, am I sharing the plan? I can't tell.
That's the new revised plan there on the screen, which should reflect the sidewalk being wide open, eliminating any egress issues with the doors coming out of the building. And like I said, you should see the planters on each side of the fence, which will replicate essentially the Jersey barriers in size and weight. And then if you notice, he put relocated bollards along front. And we're still maintaining proper distance for the fire lane, according to Captain Ellis when he was on site with me.
Commissioners, you have any questions?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. In terms of, I'm looking at the relocated barriers, and it seems like The original bollards were actually utilizing some of the existing building canopy columns as a deterrent for, I guess, safety requirements. And I'm assuming that you'll add, some additional bollards as required in order to create, a pattern that will, more or less stop a car from fitting in between, I guess, the bollard spacing so that, it can't go into your fence or into your patio area. So with that
Correct.
said, I don't have a problem with it, but, just recognizing that, that the spacing doesn't look correct in some areas. So you might have to.
I understand. We'll absolutely do that. Whatever it may be, 4 feet, 3.5 feet, 5 feet, whatever the recommendation is. As far as spacing and quantity of the bollards, I had all I could do to track down the designer and the architect to get this redrawn in time. So
That's
I
fine.
kind of took a flyer here and hoped for the best with what he turned around for. So Jennifer can attest to that.
Anyone else?
Looks good.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up public hearing 2991 to the public, 95 Elm Street for permanent outdoor dining. If you would like to speak in favor or against this application, please state your name and address for the record. Going for the first time. Going for the second time, 95 Elm Street, outdoor dining, permanent. Going for the third time. Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, are you satisfied with what they've presented?
I think it's awesome. Myself, and I apologize if I keep cutting out, I keep losing, but looking at what he did, I think it's going to be awesome now. He did the fire lane, he's got the walkway. All my concerns were, and it looks like he's got quite a few tables, so awesome.
I like it, Mr. Chairman. Good job. Thank you. Thank you for getting back with the information promptly for us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing 2991.
Motion's
Second.
made and motion seconded by Commissioner DeGray. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Okay, how would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve public hearing 2991. The resolution as prepared by the planning department dated March 11th with the 23 total conditions and 3 site-specific conditions.
Okay,
Second,
Second.
motion's made and seconded. Commissioner Suzak, do you think we should make it a condition that we're approving this second site plan that they provided?
We probably should, because of the fact that I think the documentation does reference some drawings and it's not referencing the latest drawing. So
Right,
I'll add a condition, a 9B condition, site-specific condition that would indicate that it's, contingent upon, I guess the layout that we received today, and I think I'm looking for a date. It says, I can't see 3/19, no, that's the wrong one. 3/18/21, that's the date on the drawing. Sorry, it's too small to read.
okay. So the motion's made and seconded with the following conditions. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Virginia Higley.
Ginny?
4. Am I
Thank you.
muted? Wait a minute.
You got it.
We got you.
Frank
Okay.
Alamo,
4.
John Piccinella,
4.
Vinnie Grillo,
4.
and Richard Suzak is 4.
All in favor, none against. Congratulations, and I hope this helps you recoup some of the money you've lost over the last year.
definitely been a challenge, and I appreciate this very much.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, new public hearings, public hearing 2994.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, March 25th at 7 PM online regarding the following application. Public hearing 2994, text amendment application to section 6.20.1 footnote 7 to allow private farmers markets in industrial zones. KBRC Realty LLC applicant. Mr. Nelson,
Here,
Linda DeGray,
Here,
Virginia Higley,
Here,
Frank Alamo,
Here,
John Petronella,
Here,
Lee Grillo,
Here,
and Richard Suzak is here.
okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Attorney Thomas Fahey. I have a law office in Windsor Locks with Fahey and Landolina Attorneys LLC on Spring Street. And I represent the applicant, which is KBRC Realty. And its principal is Chip Labonte. And the application that you have before you, as you can see, is for a text amendment. Mr. Labonte owns real estate at 53 Manning Road. I'm sure all of you know it, the former Hallmark building. And Manning Road is divided. The rear part is industrial, and the front part that runs from Enfield Street to the industrial zone is zoned residential. Mr. Labonte's been trying to get some uses into this building, which has been very difficult to rent, particularly uses that are more compatible with the residential neighborhood than the truck traffic generated by the Hallmark may have been. I believe he's had a couple of preliminary meetings, I know with staff, and I think also before the commission. He then, commission suggested that he come forward with, the staff suggested he come forward with some type of an application regarding the regulation of indoor farmers markets, which, based on Chip's research, have become very popular throughout the United States. I know Enfield itself has experimenting with a publicly run indoor farmers market at the mall. In reviewing your existing regulations, it appears that you currently regulate agricultural uses in industrial zones. The regulatory format is in section 6.2. And what you've done in the past is when you've recognized additional uses, such as the last example was roadside stands, by amending footnote 7, which is in the it follows section 6.2 and kind of clarifies what uses are permitted by special permit in that industrial zone as agricultural uses. And you did that in 2012 with roadside stands. In a very similar way, we're asking that you clarify the permissibility of indoor farmers markets by just adding another footnote to that and adding another subsection to that footnote, which would be footnote 4. And the language is set forth before you in your application. It's the language that is set forth in bold print. I understand subsequent to the submission of the application, there's been some other interested property owners who have asked that have supported this text amendment, but asked for amendment which would also permit it to operate in without operate in areas that are on privately owned land, certain designated areas of privately owned land, not necessarily in a building. And I think that the letter explaining that is also part of your submission package. We don't have any objection to that. We're concerned, we intend to operate, if this is approved, inside the building, subject to your approval and special permit, Saturdays and Sundays for 26 weeks, running from the spring, the fall, excuse me, the fall, winter, and spring. And that's really the substance of the application. It's very straightforward. We made an effort to follow along with your existing regulatory format, not try to reinvent the wheel. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Attorney Fahey. Commissioners, Rich Suzak.
Yes, Mr. Chair, because I looked at footnote number 7, and I guess I have a problem with footnote number 7. You know, when you read it, it says that, you know, it's sort of tagging itself onto our agricultural activities, but in reality, it's really a processing manufacturing system that they're relating it to, in terms of, you know, they say that, you know, whether, you know, materials are grown on the site or off the site, that you can bring them to the site to process them. And the thing that comes to mind is that, you know, if I was growing tomatoes, you know, off site, and I wanted to can tomatoes, and all of a sudden, you know, I could use this footnote to say, well, I'm going to create a cannery or a canning facility that is going to be processing these tomatoes. But in reality, it has nothing to do with an agricultural use. It's just processing an agricultural material. Because, you know, I guess, you know, I'm looking at, you know, the date that this footnote was added, and the date it was added was back in 2020. And that sort of coincides with the, you know, the mulch processing facility that, you know, was approved at that time. And I guess, you know, normally, you know, agricultural, you know, activity is a farmer who's in harmony with the land, in terms of he gets all his, you know, all his benefits, all his products, anything that he grows from the land, and he's in harmony with the land. And I guess by right, you know, an agricultural use has freedom to develop into wetlands, because of the fact that, again, if they're in harmony with the land, they're not going to harm the wetlands. They're going to live in harmony with the wetlands. And I see that, you know, this is kind of a convoluted extension of saying, well, you know, as long as it's a vegetable or a fruit, I can do whatever I want in an industrial zone anywhere I want, because of the fact that by right, agricultural activities are allowed to be placed anywhere they want. And I see that, you know, all of a sudden we're adding these layers into this footnote. So initially it was just processing, you know, I guess organic or agricultural materials. And now all of a sudden we're saying, well, you know, why don't it was really manufacturing. It had nothing to do with agricultural, but it was manufacturing. Now all of a sudden we're adding retail to this, in terms of it's not really agricultural, it's really retail. And I guess, you know, I'm having this problem of just adding a layer on top of a layer on top of a layer, where it gets convoluted as to what you're really trying to achieve or what you're really talking about. My preference would be that if they wanted to do something, you know, different, you know, I don't want to see 5 or 6 or 7 different layers on this footnote to try to become all inclusive, because everybody's trying to piggyback on this concept that regardless of whether, you know, it's really agricultural or not, as long as, you know, this footnote says that I can do whatever I want to do, I can do it anywhere. And that includes wetlands too. So with that said, you know, I would prefer that, you know, we don't start layering, you know, all these different systems underneath one footnote, is that we really just establish an allowable use that doesn't necessarily, it could tie itself into utilizing agricultural products, but actually call a club, a diamond, a heart, in terms of it's really manufacturing of the agricultural product. It's not agricultural use and agricultural development. So, and I think that, just looking back that, when we look at, again, the processing facility, that mulch processing facility on Mullen Road, you can ask those residents, how happy are they with all those trucks that are going by there? In the town, in terms of how happy are we, having to fix the roads and everything. So I think that, we have to be careful of how we position this, because it affects the entire town. It doesn't affect this one area. And we need to sort of separate it if we want to, is it, I read the last statement that says, flea markets, yard sales are not private farmers market. But the thing is, if I pin a fluffy tail on a pig, then and call it a squirrel, it's still a pig. No matter what you call it, you can say, oh, this isn't really, a flea market. It's not really a yard sale. It's not this or that. But in reality, it is. It's you're trying to sell, tokens, handcrafted products, textiles, artwork. What does artwork have to do with agricultural use in terms of, I prefer to just see a separate section and make it as wide or as broad as you want, but let's not call it agricultural products. Let's not call it an agricultural activity. I just find that all this layering is going to get us into trouble. And now that we're redoing our zoning regulations, I was going to just take this section 7 out and sort of suggest the same type of thing. If they want to, do manufacturing, let's call it manufacturing. Let's not hide under the guise of it being agricultural. Let's just do it and allow things to happen. And this way they really have to follow the regulations, both for inland and wetlands in terms of, like you said, agricultural activities are by right. They can do whatever they want, wherever they want. And manufacturing, industrial facilities, let's, sort of separate the two and keep them sort of on an even keel. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
May I respond, or would you rather I wait until I answer all your questions?
No, go ahead, Attorney Fahey. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. And with all due respect, a couple of corrections to the statement by Commissioner Suzak. The date that the roadside stands, as it says right in the regulation, was put into it was in February 2, 2012, not 2020. And in fact, if you look at section 6.2, you'll see that agricultural uses were put into your regulation by your commission in 2012. It's noted right next to the entry of 6.20. And what footnote 7 is for is to regulate, is to specify those agricultural uses that are to be permitted by special permit. Reason being, it gives the authority to the commission to closely regulate those activities in all the self-safety and welfare issues. As to the agricultural point, this particular regulation requires that a majority of the products be farm products. And I question Commissioner Skuzak's statement that this is a totally retail use. Farmers markets are in most definitions that I've seen, and they are permitted in many throughout the country and in many places in Connecticut. The idea that a farmer taking his goods to a market where he can deal directly to the consumer, don't necessarily compare it to what you've seen at the Enfield Mall, because most of those products that you saw during the winter there were not really farm related. And the regulation here would require that majority of products be produced by farmers, be actual farm products that come from the earth. and are sold directly to the consumer, and not sold to an intermediary and whatnot. That's the theme of the government. The other activities, the crafts and all that, are done obviously to capture, you know, the people who are there buying the farm products that might enjoy some of these other things. That can be regulated, but to dispatch it to in the way that Mr. Skuzak, first of all, it would, you know, we as landowners and as people who own land in Enfield, you can only rely on the regulation as to what it says. So we have a regulation that says that agricultural products are permitted, and we have a footnote that we didn't create, that your commission created in 2012, establishing a matrix for roadside stands and as being permitted by special permit. It's a simple logical projection. It's obvious that Commissioner disagrees with that, but we got to go by, we're following a principle that was established by the commission. So I don't think it's as far-fetched as perhaps Commissioner Skuzak is implying.
Because again, if it was a roadside stand, I would not be against it in terms of, yes, you know, if it's a roadside stand, you know, you could do whatever you want to do, you know, and I think that it is addressed. But I think that what happens is it's snowballing. It's going to evolve, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and it includes this, includes that. And like you said, you know, I would rather see a totally separate use group introduced that allows this to happen. It shouldn't be piggybacked on the agricultural. It could sort of be its own entity, and it could reference agricultural products, and it could also reference, you know, handmade, you know, products and whatnot. But you know, it had, you know, to say that it's a roadside stand, you know, the thing is we're comparing a roadside stand versus for lack of a better word, almost a flea market. And, you know, even though it's not a flea market, because
not even close to that.
A private, you know, farmers market is what it's called.
Not even close to a flea market.
Well, you know, again, it's you know, it's a matter of opinion. But again, you know, I get what you're saying, and I think that, you know, I would like to see, you know, it divorced from this agricultural connotation because of the what that carries with it, and create its own entity where.
So you would take the flea market, you would then take the roadside stands out as well then, is that what you're saying?
Well, I think that the roadside stands.
You can't create an inconsistency.
0.7 is where they start talking about, you know, agricultural activities. And it says all farm stands shall be at least 20 feet. So it's really addressed in 6.30.7. So if you're hanging your hat that, you know, this is the only place that roadside stands, this is a footnote that says.
No, it's a footnote.
Excuse me, both of you. I can't have you stepping on top of each other. You have to let each other speak if we want to get through this. So Rich, you had the floor. Go ahead, continue what you were saying. And then Tom, I gave you the time to respond. I will give you the time to respond again. Please respect each other's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, like you said, I think that the roadside stands are addressed in, you know, 6.30.7. So realistically, that's where we really have, you know, the meat and potatoes of what roadside stands are. And this footnote 7 is something that is just added. It's not the meat and potatoes. It's a morsel of a crumb of information. But the real information is in 6.30.7. So, and again, you know, that's fine. You know, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
With all due respect, the section 6.20 is the section that specifies the uses that are permitted in industrial zones. That's why we went to that section. Footnote 7 specifies the uses that have to get a special permit. So it is entirely appropriate for us to be in that section because we're in an industrial zone and we're submitting ourselves to the special permit process. The reason that, just as the commission specified that the roadside stands have to get a special permit. That's why it's there. So to say that that there's no purpose for roadside stands to be in that section is not.
Thank you, Attorney Fahey. All set, Rich? I take it that's a yes. Commissioner Higley.
I have a couple things. I was looking at the staff comments and the proposed amendment, and I'm not a big fan of minimums, because minimums, that means you could have more than, but you can't have less than. I think it should be maximum. And the reason I say that is in both places it says on a regular basis once a week or more. With the or more, it could be 7 days a week. And I'm not talking about this specific farmer's market. I'm talking about the actual regulations. So I'd rather see no more than X amount per week. And then it says for a minimum of 26 weeks in a calendar year. Now, I know a lot of farmers, small farmers, and if they decided to get together and have a little farmer's market, I don't think that they'd want to do it for 26 weeks, just my own personal thing. And that's why I think it should be a maximum rather than a minimum, my own personal opinion. And then I noticed the applicant's statement says 9 months of the year. So that's September to May. And that's a lot more than, I know minimum is 26 weeks and there's no maximum. That's why I'm saying maybe we should have a maximum of 9 months. And then, so then it says no more than, okay, then you go to the letter that was sent out to the residents, and it says September through May, which it says in the other one, but it says couple food trucks, that's no problem, but it says operating just 3 days per week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'd rather see maximum that covers the full spread of what a farmer would want to do rather than minimum. That's just my thoughts. And thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Higley. Commissioner Fahey, would you like to respond?
Well, I'm not a commissioner, but
I'm sorry.
sometimes
Attorney
I wish
Fahey.
I was. So I can.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was fine. It's important that we have, as I told you, our intentions are to operate on Saturdays and Sundays during the winter. And we intend to have, quite a number of vendors there, farmers who produce products and agricultural products that meet your definition. And you can't put the kind of investment that the owner of this property is willing to spend. It's not going to be 4 or 5 farmers in someone's backyard having a market. This is a significant activity. There's going to be there's a large building there that has plenty of parking and has plenty of space, and based upon farmers markets that we visited throughout New England, this is a real positive thing. You couldn't, operating Saturday and Sunday, that's 2 days a week. That's what we want. And I'm not asking that it's not us that's asking for 3, it's the people who came in later and said that that's what they want. And that's why it's saying that they apparently they want 10 days. I don't know that, I don't know why you'd be so concerned about restricting someone's business. If they feel this is a good investment and this is going to be run in a safe manner and it's positive for the town, it takes an empty building and makes it useful again. Why does it matter if they have it for 26 weeks operating on the weekends? I don't understand that, but it's completely unacceptable to us to make that to tinker with the ability for us to operate in 26 weeks, and that's why we put that in the regulation.
Thank you, Commissioner Fahey. Commissioner Higley, would you like to respond?
Yes. The
Go ahead.
only reason I said maximum is it says minimum of 26 weeks. if it's a true, if it's a farmer's market and 5 farmers in Enfield want to get together and have a farmer's market for the summer, they have to have at least 26 weeks because it says minimum of. So you're locking out all the small farmers that want to do it together combined. And that's why I think it should be maximum versus minimum. My own personal thoughts. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Higley. Commissioner DeGray.
Hold on. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. I kind of have to agree with Commissioner Suzak and Commissioner Higley. The other part that I don't, and I don't like to stop a business, but to make a farmer's market and then start to include furniture, textiles, and other products gets a little fuzzy to me, because we live in New England. Our farmers have fresh product for a certain period of time, and then we have our winter vegetables, which are not that plentiful. I see this turning that, well, grandma's old desk, that's a wooden piece of furniture. Let me bring it with me and I'll sell that. Somebody sees that, well, he brought his grandmother's desk, I'm going to bring my grandfather's whatever. And then it starts to evolve into something that's not really a farmer's market. And I'm there's places for things like that, and then there's a farmer's market. We have a farmer's market in the mall. From my understanding, they had difficulty getting farmers to get involved. The town actually ended up paying some to participate. So I just have that difficulty with the handcrafted wooden furniture, textiles, and artwork. Doesn't work for me in this footnote. If it's going to be a farmer's market, it could be the jams, the candles, and things like that, soaps, homemade food products. But to go into having these additional things, as you said, Attorney Fahey, to attract people, that starts to evolve it into something else. And I'd love to say people follow the rules, but I'm in a business, they start off following the rules and then they don't. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Commissioner DeGray. Commissioner Alaimo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand what Rich is saying, and I agree with, having things layered and convoluted and, maybe break something out. As we move forward, redoing our regulations. But I'm not sure if, that's going to help us here tonight. But I am in favor of, utilizing an empty building and having a farmer's market. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, tonight we're here just for the amendment piece, because, I'm not comfortable with saying go ahead and do it, because I think there should be, I assume they're coming back for some type of special use permit, because we're taking a building that was manufacturing industrial layout and now making it into some different type of public assembly. So I think there needs to be, another step in this process after we say, okay, we'll allow that to happen. And then I think when that next step in the process comes, some of the other things that we were talking about tonight, such as some of the things Linda was mentioning that, she doesn't feel that belongs in the farmer's market, would be addressed at that point. So I just, I want to see our empty buildings get utilized across town. And I don't think this is going to really impact the neighborhood. I know there's always been a problem over the years down there, but I feel that I'm more worried about this structure accommodating a public, I think it's going to become a public assembly. I'm not, I don't have all codes or regulations in front of me, relative to safety use for people exiting walkways. We need comments from the fire department. We need comments from public safety. So I think that's where I am with it. I hope, we can, make this work, for this company, this gentleman and all the people involved. I know they just went through a terrible time with another company leaving merchandise there and kind of sticking them and, having a difficult time there. So, I mean, I agree with what Rich is saying and what Linda's saying, but maybe, down the road here, as we do our regulations over, we could address some of that stuff. But tell me if I'm wrong now. If, this gets approved and we say, yeah, you can have a farmer's market, they'll be coming back before us where we could address, all the other things and then possibly add some conditions. Or is this going to be just a blanket tonight and say, okay, yeah, you can do it, and they're not going to come before us, and we're not going to be able to talk about, the public safety aspect of it and all other concerns that could come up. And that's really what I got. I guess like a question to staff: are they going to be coming back for step 2 of this? But I have no problem with having them, utilize an empty space. Thank you.
Comment, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Commissioner, Attorney Fahey.
Commissioner Lima is absolutely right. This is only a text amendment hearing. The reason that we put this in the special permit section is because we know that your commission wants to regulate this. All of those questions that were raised by Ginny and by, I'm sorry to pronounce her first name, but I didn't catch her last name, Linda, that all of those comments are addressed at the special permit hearing, hours of operation, and certainly the site plan that's submitted with the special permit application has to address all of this, the health, safety, and welfare concerns addressed by Commissioner Limo. Absolutely. This is just to put a mechanism in the regulations to deal with privately owned farmers markets. That's what it does. And then we have to come back to you to satisfy your standards with respect to the site plan requirements that are laid out in pages in your planning and your regulations.
All set, Attorney Fahey?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple concerns with the comments that were raised. I'm reading the letter that was sent out to the neighbors, and it says, we wish to express our support for a winter's farmers market at 53 Manning Road that would operate no more than 3 days per week and no more than 9 months per year. So I feel this letter warranted Commissioner Higley's concerns because you're leading these neighbors to believe it's 3 days a week. And these are your words, not ours or the neighbors. So I think her following up with, making them stick to what they proposed to the neighbors is a very valid point. Second, we all know the issues with the traffic on that street. It's incredible. And it's not a retail structure back there. Therefore, they do.
I'm muted.
What's that?
They're gonna see you. No, I muted. Oh, I thought I muted. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
So my concern is not only do they have traffic Monday through Friday during normal business hours with the trucks, now they're going to have extensive traffic Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they were your words, Attorney Fahey, that, there's a lot of vendors that want to go in there, and the more vendors you get, the more people that are going to want to show up. Well, this is when their kids will be playing outside in the streets and stuff like that. So I am very concerned about changing the use of this building back there because of that. And I wouldn't want to mislead the people. Because we were told that it went over very well. There were 1 or 2 neighbors that had some concerns, but everybody else was on board with it. But I think everybody else should know this could be a 7-day-a-week operation with no time restraints. And the farmers are going to be bringing this stuff in with trucks. And, the people who go to this are going to be coming and going all weekend long while your kids are playing in the road. So I'm very interested in hearing the public's comments, because I think the letter that was sent to the residents is very misleading after what you just said to the commission. So those are my concerns. Commissioner Suzak.
Because I guess, you know, in regard to, you know, Commissioner Alimo's, you know, and the thing is, what we have to do is that whatever we allow in this text amendment will be allowed, in terms of, we can't prevent them from doing anything that we say is allowed in this text amendment. And again, if it only said farmers, you know, agricultural products, then fine, you know, that's all they can do. And then all of a sudden we can regulate whether they can do, you know, artwork or furniture or, you know, trinkets or windmills or, you know, spinners or whatever else, you know, they might want. But as soon as we say, yes, you can do that, we can't say no anymore. So, you know, even though they come before us for a special permit, they're going to say, well, it says right here, I can do this. You can't prevent me from doing this. You know, all you can do is prevent me from adding something that you didn't allow me to do before. So in that vein, if we remove all the other, you know, extraneous things and just keep it a farmer's market in terms of agricultural products, then all of a sudden, you know, it would be a farmer's market. But it's evolving into something that is not a farmer's market, and we cannot prevent them from, you know, participating in any manner that we say is acceptable now. At a later date, we can't say, well, we changed our mind. You know, you can't change your mind after you pass something. So it's you regulate it now, and then if they want to do something different, then you say, well, either it conforms or it doesn't conform. And you just can't say, well, I'm going to allow you to do whatever, and then I'm going to change my mind later on, because we can't.
Thank you, Commissioner Suzak. And I forgot to mention this too, is with marijuana possibly being passed here in the next year, you know, that facility is big enough to create a grow place, a marijuana store, and everything else, which is agricultural. And I don't know how many of you have driven by a marijuana field, but let me tell you, the smell that comes off it is, in my opinion, atrocious. To other people, they may love it. But if you're a resident who lives around that field, or if this were to become a facility, the smell is going to be unbelievable. And I don't think these residents should have to put up with it. And I would be very concerned to see if something like that would fall into this category, because if they're growing the marijuana there, why couldn't they sell it there and have a dispensary there? It's be no different than a farmer's market under the definition that we're being given. So that's another one of my concerns. Okay, Commissioner Alimo?
Yeah, so what Rich was just talking about, I'm just gonna call it a second bite at the apple. Aren't we gonna get a second bite at the apple here down the road, and with conditions of the approval? Rich is shaking his head no. So I was thinking that we could address some of those concerns with conditions of approval.
What concerns would you be referring to,
Well,
Commissioner Alimo?
well, I guess broadly, the concerns that are here tonight on the table from all the commissioners. You know,
Well,
even yours, Mr. Chairman, about, you know, the trucks, you would have specific unload and load times.
Well, if it's an allowed use, you can't put those conditions on it. It's allowed in that zone. How do you condition something that's approved?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Why would we approve it if we didn't want truck traffic running 24 hours a day?
You could do it
That's
with,
the way I see it. Go ahead, Commissioner Alimo, finish.
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner, Attorney Fahey.
yeah, yes, I think that, first of all, you absolutely can impose conditions with your special permit. What the comment you made about marijuana, not only was it speculative, but it really has no place in our application tonight. And that's something you could very easily, we'd have to ask for that. And we're certainly not asking for that. And the regulation of the time we operate, the regulation of the type of operation is well within your purview of special permit conditions. You do it all the time. this is not, we're not asking for an as of right use. I think what Commissioner Cusack is referring to is the specific items that he has objection to that he doesn't think are agricultural that's in there. But to say that you have no authority or discretion in regulating this is absolutely wrong. If we, you know, if you approve the language as it is now, that's the language we would have to then comply with all of your special permit. You know, another way of doing this, we could have created a separate section of the regulations and then copied every single special permit regulation in that regulation and added another 7 pages to your regulation. But by referring to this section, it says that in 7, you have to follow the special permit regulations. And I, you know, and so Jenny's questions as well, the same thing in terms of days of operation. And by the way, 2 other things, truck traffic. Farmers markets, you don't have semi trucks coming down the street. Right now, as we speak, if this owner was, there are many permitted uses in the industrial zone, which if he had a tenant, you would have to review as an as of right use, okay? Or only a site plan use, in which case you would have semi trucks coming down there. This owner has already provided a much less intensive use with part of the building by having a self-storage facility. You're not going to have semi, that reduces, it's already reduced the traffic there. And these farmers markets, people don't, they come and the farmers will come and pick up trucks, you know, or vans and stuff. They don't bring semis down the street. And if we say that we want to operate Saturdays and Sundays only, you have the right to regulate that by putting that on the permit condition. And by the way, saying, I didn't write the letter, but saying no more than 3 days doesn't mean that it's got to be 3 days. It could be 2 days. And that's what, as I spoke to my client earlier today, Saturday and Sunday, that's what he wants. And that's what would be in the special permit application, which you would have to be able to regulate as you do other special permits. But I mean, there's been a lot of speculation, what if this and what if this, but you know, we're just trying to get a chance at that here.
Thank you, Attorney.
Commissioner, excuse me, this is Chip Labonte. Could I just have a second?
Sure.
Okay. So as all of you probably saw, we've had a difficult time with Brooks Brothers, and they left, you know, a horrendous mess in our property. So we're $250,000 in the hole trying to dig our way out of it. And the space that we're talking about for this farmer's market is 100,000 square feet. Now, obviously, we're not going to have a 100,000 square foot farmer's market. We're going to have something on the order of 10 or 15 or so thousand feet, with nice big spaces and the like. But if we're not able to do that, if we're not able, and we're talking about a farmer's market that would operate somewhere in the neighborhood of 77 days a year. So this is not really when children are so much out playing in the street. It's, you know, in the colder months. So we're talking about 77 days a year versus 260 or 365 days a year, where we would have an industrial tenant occupying 100,000 square feet and utilizing 8 overhead doors. So that's a hell of a lot of traffic that certainly could be there. Everybody remembers what it was like when Hallmark was there. They had hundreds of employees. They had traffic going up and down the street all day long, and it was a horror show. It's not that way anymore. When I wrote the letter to the neighbors, I wanted to sort of just get ahead and see if there was what their sentiment would be. And that is, we could continue with more trucks and continue the way it was, or have a softer alternative in a farmer's market. It's not meant as, you know, 1,000% promise. I since have scaled it back from 3 days to 2 days. We'd like to operate just really conceptually a half day on Sunday. And we are totally open to all sorts of ideas and restrictions that you all think would make it a better environment. When we're talking about some things like, you know, textiles, We're not talking about used clothing or something like that. We're talking about a weaver, somebody who's creating a wool product or maybe a woodworker. To prohibit furniture from being sold, absolutely great. Put it in our special permit. There will never be a piece of furniture sold. I've got a hell of a situation here. I've got 200,000 square feet of obsolete vacant building. I pay $2,000 a week in taxes. I've got a real problem here and if the building gets foreclosed on or something else happens, you're going to have somebody else coming in with the same situation. How can we make this work? And I'm trying to make it work, we conceptually are planning is something that I think would really complement Enfield. I'm trying to be a great neighbor. I talked to the people on the street. I've tried to reach out to them and I totally understand the issues with the zoning regulations, but I'm not going to be here in 2 years. My building is going to get foreclosed on. I've got to figure out some solutions. It's been listed for rent for months, and I don't have tenants in there. And following COVID, I don't know what the heck is going to happen. I'm trying to make something happen here. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori, I had a question for you. Attorney Fahey's saying we can put as many stipulations in the special permit, but isn't this particular property one that we tried to limit the traffic on the road? And after we worked with them to come up with an agreement that everybody was happy with, including the neighbors, they turned around, took the town to court and sued us and won to where they could have as much traffic as they want whenever they wanted. I'm not sure who owned the building at the time.
No, that's not my property.
I don't think that occurred while I was here. However, you do not have the right to regulate traffic.
Thank you.
It's not my property. I'm on the right side of the street. Ashley Furniture is on the left side.
However, you do have a right to regulate special permits, and I just have a couple comments to think about. One, I would say you can just take handcrafted products out. Just take it out if that's going to satisfy your concerns. If you want to add it in later, it could be another text amendment. If you want to put this in and as not a footnote, you could just make it. We could just add it to the permitted use table, and that'll just be the only place that it'll be permitted. I think that there is an issue of coming up with the proper maximums or minimums. There does seem to be some discrepancy in how they've been presented. And marijuana use, who knows where that's going to go in Connecticut. However, I will tell you that the states regulate that to the hilt. If it actually is a dispensary or a manufacturer, you will not smell it, because it has to be just absolutely enclosed and air conditioned and all sorts of air quality issues. And I actually toured one on a planning tour up in Massachusetts, and you did not smell a thing outside, but that is not part of this application. So, but I understand where you were going with that, Mr. Chairman, because it could be considered an agricultural use.
Well, you live in East Windsor, and I know when you drive through East Windsor, through the farm fields, you can smell them growing. We'll call it THC because that's what they say, or whatever it's called. And it smells horrible at a certain time of the year.
I understand.
Okay.
That's the growing of it outside.
Right.
That is not actually. That is anyway. That is
Right.
not marijuana.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
We'll deal with that at another time.
Right. Commissioner Suzak, did you want to speak again?
Yes.
Go
In
ahead.
terms of, I agree with our staff in terms of, I'm looking at, the allowable uses, and they do have retail outlets in there. And if we wanted to add another use that says, private farmers markets, and then have a definition as to what private farmers markets is, and, but not necessarily tie it to agricultural activities. Or if you wanted to tie it to agricultural activities, then you'd have to take out your handcrafted, woodworks and everything else. But somehow you can't keep layering another layer on top of another layer on top of another layer. Just give it its own definition, give it its own use group, and then define what it is. And then we can decide whether we're comfortable with what you're proposing, but don't try to, like you said, layer it and disguise it into something that it's really not. And just call it what it is. Don't say it's agricultural activities if it's not. And if you want to do other things, then all of a sudden you could do other things, but you're not tied directly into the agricultural system. And I think that that's where I have the big problem. Do I have problems with flea markets? Probably I don't. I really don't have a problem with flea market. I know the town doesn't allow it, but there's a reason why, and unfortunately I don't know what that reason is. But if we wanted to have something and have its own entity, then I'd be a little more receptive to what you might be proposing. But to try to tie it into agricultural activities is really pushing the limit as to what we're trying to do.
Thank
May I
you,
respond to
Commissioner.
that?
Go ahead, Attorney Fahey.
I just want it to be noted that I didn't create that definition of farmer's market, which is put in footnote 7 out of whole cloth. I looked at farmer's market's definition throughout Connecticut, throughout New England, and what you have there is something that's, I've incorporated that definition to this one. They're all very similar, okay? And what Commissioner Skuzak seems to be saying is that you can't put anything other than something that's grown in the earth in the definition. Farmers markets are more than just what he thinks they are, and it's not. He calls it layering and this and that and the other thing. If you look at these, and I'll provide definitions to you. I did that already to the staff, as Lori and Jen will tell you, when I was trying to get a direction as to how we should pursue this. And this is not an aberration. This is a very typical definition of a farmer's market. Where they may vary is in, they may vary in days of operation, or they might vary in how much percentage has to be agricultural farmers products, and how much may be other related activity. But they all include that concept in it. And I think that what Commissioner Skuzak is saying, he's saying that that's not agricultural products, but apparently all these other towns and all these other commissions and all these state organizations, farming organizations, apparently they disagree with that. So that's kind of a hard concept to deal with when you're seeing and you're reading the literature and all that, and they use definitions like this, and he's saying something totally different.
Commissioner Suzak.
And again, I'm not saying that you don't have the correct definition for a farmer's market. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that to tie it in and say that by right you have the agricultural exemption from every other control thing that happens is like you said, farmers by right can go into wetlands. Farmers, if we say that this is tied into agricultural activities, then in reality they can set up in a wetlands, because they by right they can do whatever they want as an agricultural activity. And that's what I'm saying, is that it's not really agricultural activity. It's some permutation of utilizing agricultural products in what you're trying to do, but it's really retail. You're selling in terms of I'm giving you my products, you're giving me something back. I'm giving you money, you give me something back. That's selling. You're not growing anything there. Are you growing it, something in that farmer's market? So, but anyways, I think that we're not following the same path in terms of, we get skewed in terms of, what I'm saying is I'm saying that I'm not, again, saying that you don't have the correct definition for a farmer's market. I'm just saying that it's not directly tied into agricultural activities, is what I'm saying. So.
Thank you. Lori.
There are many things or many areas where agricultural is exempt, and absolutely wetlands is one of them. I mean, to a degree. But I don't see this as something that would have been exempt as an agricultural use. This is something we always regulate. Farm stands, we regulate whether you could have a farm store, an ice cream shop. Those are not by right, and nor should this be. So I just wanted to clarify. Just remind us that we do regulate all of those things, even though it is agricultural in nature.
Thank you. Commissioners, anybody else? So I understand where Rich is going with this, but my definition of a farmer's market, and some people may not like this, but I see it as a flea market or a crafts fair, because if we go to the Enfield's Farmers Market in the mall, they sell everything. You can buy beef teriyaki, you can buy Christmas ornaments, and you can buy produce, but it's really a flea market and a crafts fair. And every farmer's market I've ever gone to, I have seen items like that being sold. And my wife is supposed to be bringing me down something. I was there at Christmas time and we bought a lot of less expensive Christmas gifts for people. And go ahead, bring it to me, please. And then so I see what you're saying, Rich, and I'm not good with putting definitions or limiting, because this is what I bought at Enfield's Farmers Market. It's candy wreath. None of this was grown from the ground. And she did an amazing job building this. And we bought this before Christmas. I know it's hard to believe it's still there, as fat as I am, but it is. And so I don't want to limit what they can do there as far as you can only sell produce there. So if you're okay removing agricultural, Rich, then we need to come up with something, because you're right. Flea markets are not allowed in our regulations. And I agree with you. I don't know why. I think it's a good place for the community to come together, including farmers and everybody, and, sell local products. You can buy local honey and stuff like that. That's not my concern. So as far as the definitions go, however you want to word that, I would be okay with it, but I wouldn't limit it to just agricultural. He's got a big facility there that he needs to fill. I understand the hardship that he's under, along with everybody else right now. My concern is the traffic over there. So, Attorney Fahey is, I have to agree with him on his definition that it's not only agricultural. And I agree with you, Rich. Then let's remove the word agricultural and come up with something different that will encompass. People have booths there to, sell their products, at home. We'll come to your house and do X, Y, and Z for you, and anything he can do to rent space there. But I do agree that it shouldn't be a thrift store, like these pawn shops are, because they're not pawn shops anymore. They're thrift stores. That's where I am on that. Like I said, my biggest concern is the traffic. It's very hard for us to limit hours and stuff like that on the facility. I know this, and that's where I'm at. If you want to remove the word agricultural, Rich, and we come up with a different word or something that meets what definition you're looking for, I'd be happy to work with you on it.
Yeah, and I agree with you in terms of, I just don't want it be tied into footnote number 7. Give it its own little line, give it its own use. Just define what a farmer's market is, and include it in one of those line items that we have. And we can say it's a special permit. And like you said, I'm looking at the retail uses, and they're all special permits. They're not allowed in I2, but it could be, instead of saying retail outlets, it can say farmers markets. To me, and then you can put whatever you want in there, but you're not using footnote number 7, because like you said, I think that footnote number 7 has to get removed from our regulations. So, but anyways, so I think that
Can I just follow up, Commissioner Susan, I know what you're saying.
Let Commissioner Suzak finish, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought he was.
Go ahead,
yeah,
Rich.
and like you said, if you wanted to create its own line item and its own line use, then I'm fine with that. But I'm not fine with it being tied into footnote number 7.
And maybe a definition that goes with the word
Correct.
farmer's market.
Correct. Right, and that's what I'm saying is that, you know, you can create your own definition, whatever you want it to be, but you're not tying it into agricultural activities.
Right. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Attorney Fahey.
Well, you lost me there because I thought what he was saying is you put farmer's market. Well, first of all, agricultural products are already permitted in the industrial zone. So if you add another line item that said farmer's market, privately owned farmer's market, just said that, okay, then you already would have agricultural products being permitted in the farmer's market, and they'd have private farmer's market, and we would do nothing with footnote 7. And remember what I said before is that's how you get to regulate it by special permit, was by using footnote 7. Whoop, what happened?
You're here. We got you.
All right, somehow I lost my.
Commissioner, this is Chip Labonte again. Tom, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just looking here on Wikipedia, and their definition of a flea market is essentially the sale of used merchandise. Now, I appreciate that Wikipedia isn't the resource for everything, but that's the way that they define it, and as a swap meet. So, I mean, we're clearly very good with everything being new, but I think that that's the key part of a flea market is that it's used.
Okay, I was going more in your favor than against you with the flea market as
Okay.
far as selling.
Well, it
crap.
just seemed like, thank you. People associate the flea market with being second rate and junky and the like.
Yes.
And that's not at all where we're going. We want something upscale and interesting and unique.
A crafts fair.
Well, what I don't think that people necessarily think of when they think of a farmer's market is what we have here at my house, and that's a lavender farm. And that would be really unique for a lavender's farm to be, a vendor, and you'd say, wow, that's pretty cool. They're here at the Winter Farmers Market because, you'd never see us at a summer market because we have our own farm stand. So,
Great. Thank you.
but
Chip.
anyways, that's just a little 2 cents. And once
you.
again, I mean, we're talking about, 77 days versus 260 days.
Right.
And I appreciate the traffic and the like, and I think that we're talking about a significant lessening of traffic in this use, as opposed, and we'd certainly be happy to prohibit box trucks and tractor trailer trucks and the like from this space.
Thank you. Commissioner Petronella.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I tend to agree with Commissioner Suzak with maybe creating something that's more of a separation between and not tagging it onto footnote number 7, because, when you start off reading footnote number 7, it talks about, basically the roadside stands, agricultural products grown on site and so forth. And then the definition of the private farmers market is a little bit convoluted to that and should probably be separated on its own. The other issue that I have is where it says once per week or more for a minimum of 26 weeks in a calendar year. Essentially, that reads 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, potentially. Correct me if I'm wrong, but once per week or more, and for a minimum of 26 weeks per year. So that's 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Those are my concerns. Other than that, no real issue. There's nothing in this that can prevent the more popular that places like this become, the more people that they will attract more vendors and maybe more products where it gets diversified, where it kind of maybe can grow into something like a flea market. I hate to use that term, but That's how things like this evolve. So if it does become popular, I guess that's a good thing, but there's got to be some way to control as to how it expands, whereas it can become a flea market, because there's a lot of space there and a lot of room to grow and a lot of potential there. But those are my concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Petronella. Anybody else before I open it to the public? Okay, seeing, John, you're all set, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up to the public hearing 2994 text amendment application to section 6.20.1 footnote 7 to allow private farmers markets in industrial zones. Is there anybody out there who would like to speak in favor or against this application? If so, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi, my name is Mike McManus, 504 Hazard Avenue. I'm the owner of Powder Hollow Brewery and RD Winery, and I'd like to speak in favor of adding this text amendment.
Sure, go ahead, Mike. Thank you.
So I'd like to talk about it a little bit. First, we were able to connect with Attorney Fahey and Chip, and what they're doing, we agree wholeheartedly would be excellent for Enfield. As a brewery, we get invited to a lot of farmers markets, and I think it's important to clarify that the text amendment they're going for is definitely in line with farmers markets and not secondhand flea markets. It's definitely wholeheartedly around farmers, produce, bee products, soaps, things that are created firsthand. So we're basically in favor of this and just asking that in addition, we add the words outdoor, because we would also like to have one on our property at the brewery and the winery. The state of Connecticut has reached out to us specifically to create a Connecticut certified market. And there's a lot of information that they provide as far as what qualifies a vendor to go to a farmer's market versus a flea market, how they can get there, what products they're allowed to serve. And we just want to, basically tack onto this and say outdoors as well.
Thank you. Did you say your name was Mike or Mark?
Mike, and our
Mike.
partner's name is Mark.
Okay, because you're under his name. I just wanted to make sure we had
We're
it
using
right.
his computer because, yep.
Okay. All right. That's it?
I guess the only other part I would say is what Commissioner Virginia said about adding it as a maximum. I think that sounds like the right way to go. If you put a maximum amount, right now when you're saying a minimum, what's going to happen is exactly as a market like we have in Ellington only operates for 16 weeks. That's currently not allowed in what Chip and Attorney Fahey proposed. But again, that's something that we're just doing a text amendment. We can always address those in a special use permit. What would be ideal for both parties is saying a maximum of 365 days. And that way we can do whatever you guys regulate us into that special use permit. So if you don't want a certain location to operate year round, you put it in that special use permit. If we only want to operate for 6 weeks during the summer, we're covered. But that would be the only additional.
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2994? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Fred Muller,
Your address, please.
8 Manning Road, Enfield, Connecticut.
Welcome, Fred. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that he had sent out letters and some of the people on the street responded, and I know I had talked to a couple and they actually want to rescind their approval to this. Myself, I'm not for it. I see the writing on the wall. This is going to turn into whatever is going to make this man money. It's going to grow. It's going to get big. It's going to get ridiculous on the street. I've lived here for almost 60 years. I know what goes on this road and what has happened to this neighborhood with this industrial space being at the end of my road. My property and all the houses on the street were built before any of this was allowed down there. The town of Enfield dropped the ball and allow this stuff to be built. This poor man bought this property from Hallmark Cards, and now he's stuck. But you know what? I've been stuck for 60 years. You want to talk about being in trouble. My property value has gone down because of this stuff at the end of my street. That when we purchased our house, this wasn't an issue. So I can go on and on. I can tell you history about this street, people getting hit by cars, me almost getting killed by a bus when I was 8 years old on this street. There was a person that just got killed at the top of the street because they ran into a back of a car turning into, or pickup truck, turning into Manning Road. People going up and down the street flying. Ashley Furniture trucks. You just mentioned, Kenny, about there was a restriction for truck traffic. And Ashley Furniture came to that location at 35 Manning Road, not 53, where this applicant is all about. But I'm going to bring it up because you made a statement about that they came, they got a site application approval to use that property as an industrial zone, warehousing, and distribution center. This is what this property is zoned for: distribution and warehousing. That property never manufactured anything. I worked for that company for 6 years. I know exactly what went on in that building. They brought product in. Matter of fact, the warehouse on the other side of the street is where they ended up bringing it by the time that grew to the point where then they ended up building Bacon Road, which was everyday stuff was down at Manning Road, and everything seasonal went over to Bacon Road. But the story of it is they came, they got a site application approved. Then they turned around, they gave that whole 12 dock doors to Namco's. Then they got a second applicant. They had no dock doors available for the second tenant. They came, got a special use permit. The special use permit was approved with restrictions for truck traffic, not a site application. Then they turned around after they got that approved. They came for a retail space for Ashley Furniture to sell damaged furniture. The approval was agreed upon with a special use permit with the same restrictions for truck traffic. And I can name this. The restrictions were Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And on Sunday, no truck traffic at all. A year and a half later, after they got what they wanted, they came back to the town, planning and zoning, tried to get that whole thing reversed. They got turned away. The town of Enfield Planning and Zoning said, no way, we don't want it. We're not giving you the opportunity. They took you to court, and they used the fact that it was on a site application. You can't put restrictions on it, not a special use permit. Those are key words here. When you have a special use permit and you put restrictions, which Lori, I believe, stated that you can't put restrictions on a special use permit, you can. As far as my knowledge, you can. You can't put restrictions on a site application. They went to court and they used the words site application, not special use permit, to get that reversed, and now that was allowed. So you could go right around in circles with all this stuff. I've lived this. This is a nightmare. This is gonna, if it's successful, I'm sorry this man lost a bunch of money with Brooks Brothers, but he also made a lot of money with Brooks Brothers when they were there and they were paying their bills. But you know what? I've been paying taxes in this town, and my family has for over 60 years. And I never got a reduction in my taxes because of this nightmare at the end of my street. Like I said, I can go on, and I can tell you all kinds of facts about what goes on here. This man's in trouble, and I understand that. But that's not my fault. But this is going to be my problem that he's putting on me. So I have to say my piece. Like I said, I can go on and on. But I'll leave it at that. I am not for this, and I know that the people that are on this street, I think they've got a little bit of blindness because a lot of these people that approve this are new to this street. They have no idea what goes on this street in the past and how bad it's been. Like I said, you couldn't even pull out of your driveway when I was a kid. There was traffic going up and down the street when they would get out at their times of when they were shut down. They wouldn't even let you back out of your driveway. They would have cars piled up all the way up the street and all the way down the street, and this is going on all day long. I understand he wants to reduce truck traffic. There's going to be trucks bringing produce, bringing whatever down there that they want. And you're not going to tell these people that are going to do this, you can only bring a pickup truck. You can only have this amount. You can only have that amount. I'm telling you, if it's successful, they're going to allow, and they're going to keep coming back for more and more. And I don't want to keep fighting this fight. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to have to waste my time
Hi,
and
Bill.
my
Is
life
everything all right?
to keep going. So I'll let it go at that again, and that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2994? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, geez.
Lori, we can hear you. Lori?
Okay, going for the second time, is there anybody who would like to? Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2994 for the second time? And going for the third time, public hearing 2994, text amendment application.
Yeah.
Kenny?
Yep.
Ken?
I'm
I
so
just wanna
sorry.
say
Is
one more
Are
thing.
Len and Carol there?
Excuse me.
Jen,
I want to just first thing. This is
Hold
Fred
on,
Muller
Fred.
again.
hold on. Jen,
Yep.
do me a favor, text Lori, please.
Yep, I did.
Okay,
I'm gonna
thank you.
transfer call.
All right, again, name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, this is Fred Muller again, 8 Manning Road, Enfield, Connecticut. There's one thing that I'm not sure if this is actually the way this is supposed to work, but isn't the site where this is supposed to be having this meeting, because I know this is a planning and zoning meeting, isn't it supposed to be signage for this? Showing that 10 days before the meeting that this is happening? Because there isn't. There's no sign on that property. And also, when this was going down about 35 Manning Road, there is requests for anything that goes on at the bottom of this street on Manning Road, that there be a sign addressing at the top of the road that there's a concern with the bottom of this road. Because for the neighbors on the street to understand what's going on down there and see a sign, they have to go down there. And I just think this is a special situation where it should be put at the top of the street and on the property in that's being taken, being looked into. So there is no sign there. And if I remember correctly, that makes this whole meeting null and void. Completely.
Point at Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So if you answer that question for me, because I believe that's how this is supposed to work. There was no sign. I looked there the other day. I looked there today. There's no sign. So again, I'll let it go at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2994 for the third time? If so, state your name and address for the record, please. Okay, seeing none. Attorney Fahey, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to clarify the record, this meeting that you're having tonight, as you all know, is being run under the COVID regulations, the special executive orders that the governor put in for having these virtual meetings. And as far as I could tell, and from looking at the instructions that are given to people in Enfield who look on the website, the regular meetings, when you don't have a COVID situation, you do have to put signs up, but that's been changed by the governor's executive orders, and I know that both Lori and Jen are up on those, and the procedures that you've set up in Enfield for these meetings are being followed. So that's why there's no signage there.
Jen?
This is also a text amendment application. It's not site specific. So signs don't go up for text amendment applications because it's not it's not rooted in a specific property.
Right. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions? How do you want to proceed?
Mr. Chair, again, I'd like to state my position in terms of the way this application is presented. I would not be voting in favor of it. Like, if they wanted to modify it and create their own separate line item as to, you know, what this private farmers market is and not try to tie it into footnote number 7, you know, I might be more receptive, but as being tied into footnote number 7, I am not in favor of this text amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner Suzak. Jen, did you want to speak?
My one thing is that I just want to remind the commission that these text amendments do go for 35-day review to the Capital Region Council of Governments. So if you wanted to continue the public hearing and maybe a different draft of this type of this regulation, I think the commission can do as well, and it just saves them some time because of that requirement. If they were to have to reapply, go through the whole process of the regional review again, it is 35 days on top of the public hearing requirement.
Right. That's what I was going to suggest. Attorney Fahey, you see where Commissioner Suzak, Commissioner Petronella, and Higley are going with this, and a lot of it stems on that section 7. Is there a way we could do this where we remove that reference to that and come up with a specific definition of what you're trying to do by rewording it without having to possibly fail tonight and be able to move you forward?
Well, I'd certainly discuss that with my client. I think what Jen is suggesting is perhaps keeping the public hearing open.
Right. And you know, what she's also suggesting that we come up with a different language.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
and
that's not going to happen.
I'm not sure I understand what differently to put in the language, but I understand that you want it removed from section 7 in the 6.2 industrial regulation as a separate item, a new item, so to speak. And I'd certainly talk to my client and consider that. And so I think that it probably makes the most sense to keep the public hearing open.
Right. I think you see that the commission is, you know, favorable to work with you to come up with a solution. But the way it's written right now, I'm not sure that it would pass tonight, and I wouldn't want to see it get rejected. And then you have to start over again. If you're willing to try to come up with a correction or a change that would satisfy Commissioner Suzak and Commissioner Petronella, then maybe we can move this forward next meeting for you.
Yeah, we'll certainly consent to the continuance of the keeping the public hearing. Jen, we don't have any timing problems on that, do we? In terms of dates to this is the opening of the public hearing, so we have plenty of time.
Right. Yep. 35 days to close the public hearing. So.
What's that extensions?
And there's also the option for extensions too.
Right. And what is the next public hearing?
The next meeting.
It'd be the next meeting.
Yep, April 8th.
Commissioner Higley.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to make sure that at least the minimum maximum wordage is looked at, because I really feel that I could support this if it was a maximum where this is the most you can do and it's finished. And every time somebody comes with a special use permit, we don't have to look at it and address it each time. So I would appreciate that. And I probably could support something similar to what we all talked about. Thank you.
Well, maybe that's something we incorporate in Enfield's definition of a farmer's market, Jenny, because I see farmer's markets on weekends only, or maybe Wednesday nights, because everybody's working during the week. So, you know, that may be one of the definitions we add to this particular part of the regulation, removing it from what Rich was talking about. So
thank you.
I'm also in favor of tabling this till the next meeting. So how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we continue public hearing 2997 to our, 2994, I'm sorry, 2994 to our next meeting of April 8th, 2001, so that we can allow the applicant to modify, adjust his application to a more favorable decision.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor of continuing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Okay, moving on. Public hearing 2997,
Excuse
556.
me, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm going to recuse myself from this next public hearing. So Jen, could you text me when you're done with this hearing?
I mean, you don't have to remove yourself, just don't, don't contribute. It's hard
I'd
to
rather
leave, it's
recuse
hard to leave
myself.
your own house.
I know, but I can recuse myself, go to another room. So
Right.
Jen, just text me, okay?
All right.
Thanks.
Public hearing 2997, 556 Hazard Avenue.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. concerning the following application. Public hearing 2997, 556 Hazard Avenue, special permit and site plan review application for the expansion of a non-conforming use auto repair garage to accommodate a second tenant, Richard Polak and Peter Simlis, owners applicants, map 100, lot 349, BL zone. Ken Nelson.
Here.
Linda DeGray is recused. Virginia Higley.
Here,
Frank Alamo.
Sorry, here.
John Petronella.
Here.
Vinnie Grillo.
Here.
And Richard Suzak is here.
Is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record, please. We can't hear you, sir. We still can't hear you. Is your microphone turned down? You're not muted, so maybe the level of your microphone is turned down.
If they have an external microphone, sometimes you have to unplug it and then you can use the internal one on your camera. Could be causing that.
I know when we log on, it asks if we want to use our computer.
And that's how I choose to go. Because if you have an external microphone, you have to.
Did he have earphones in? I couldn't tell.
No, I didn't. I don't think he did.
Can we move on to the next one and come back to him until he figures out how to get the voice on?
Just give him a minute. You want to give them the phone number, Lori? They can call into the meeting. I think they can hear us. Yeah, yes, they can hear us. So maybe we give them the phone number and just have them call in.
If you have an external microphone, unplug it.
Jen, you want to give them the phone number to call in?
Yes.
Try logging off the meeting, leaving it, and then restarting it. I had to do the same thing earlier, and it worked for me.
I just asked for everybody's patience. It's inconvenient for everybody, but we try to work with everybody.
I do want to apologize for my phone call before. It was my 90-year father freaking out over some stuff. So he was blowing my phone up. So I needed to make sure he was okay.
That's quite okay.
And we've all been through this when you can't get your computer working and you have no clue what it is.
Right.
Your hair out. It's like, oh my God.
And I know they're in a full-blown panic right now, and I don't want them to be, and
Yeah, in terms of, yeah, and we've all been through it, and
yeah,
things happen, and you just try to adjust, and hopefully you just cross your fingers that the next time you come on it works, because
right.
Exactly. It looks like they logged out and are going to log back on. So
Right. Good.
Yeah. You know, too bad we didn't have a restaurant on right now that could supply hors d'oeuvres and appetizers while we're waiting. Yeah. Are they back?
why don't we take them
Yep.
out of order at this point?
Okay.
Oh, wait. Barbara Pollock is there. Can you hear us? We don't see you, but we see that you're there. So Barbara, if you could hear us, the number to call if you just want to phone in is 646-741-5292. And it's also on the agenda if you have a copy. But we don't see you and we're not hearing you.
What are the rest of those numbers, Lori?
They're all, I don't know why they give you so many numbers. I mean, maybe one is, I don't know why. I guess.
Oh, that's the meeting ID number. That's why I didn't give it out, because I didn't know if they needed all those numbers.
Yes. Yeah, you do. And if you click on that number on your cell phone, it'll auto dial all those numbers in, and it'll bring you right to the meeting. So you don't have to
Okay.
punch them in.
Okay.
So you just
Right.
hit that number and it'll auto dial.
Right. Okay, at this point, I agree with Lori. Can we just drop them down one on the agenda, Lori?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So do we need to make a motion to do this?
Yes. Take it out of order.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we proceed to our next application, which is to public hearing 2999.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded, and this is just moving C before B due to technical difficulties.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Seeing none, abstentions? It's unanimous. Okay, public hearing 2999.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. concerning the following application. Public hearing 2999, 284 North Maple Street, special permit and site plan review application for a permanent outdoor dining area associated with Bona Vida Restaurant, Kelly Miller LLC, Bona Vida applicant, Aegean Properties LLC owner, map 80, lot 203, BL zone. Ken Nelson,
Here.
Linda DeGray, back.
Here. I'm back.
Virginia Higley,
Here,
Frank Alamo,
Here.
Don Petronella,
Here.
Jimmy Grillo,
Here.
and Nicholas Zach is here.
Okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Kelly Miller, 64 Ridge Road in Enfield.
Welcome. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do.
So, basically, because of COVID, we had the outdoor dining last summer, and it went really well and was super helpful. So we wanted to kind of put a smaller little section out in front to accommodate about tables for the outdoor end.
Okay. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner DeGray?
I have actually, Bonavita was the first restaurant I went to once they allowed restaurants to open. And I have gone out there. But there is a concern. There is another takeout restaurant, and the area that you're going to be enclosing.
Yeah, so
is that going to interfere with their entering and exiting that small business? Because I really don't want to see something happen to them, to lose their business.
No, it wouldn't. It's not going to interfere with the access to their building. And I believe our landlord made sure it was okay with the other ones too. But it'll be set back a bit from the entrance towards there. So it wouldn't have any.
Well, I think it's confusion. If you don't mind me speaking, there's a sidewalk that runs by Bonavita, a sidewalk in the middle.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Rossi, 64 Ridge Road, Enfield, Connecticut.
Thank you.
And then there's a third sidewalk, and that third sidewalk actually has direct access to the New China restaurant and daycare. And there's another one for the daycare and another one for Little Buddies, which I know Janelle had some questions. We'd be digging out, leveling with like a pit, that other sidewalk all the way over to the main sidewalk, leaving that main sidewalk with 3 entrances in the fence to get in and out of the sidewalks to the patio. So essentially that sidewalk's kind of still there. It's just a patio now.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else, commissioners?
I have a question. In terms of, you know, right now you're just proposing some bollards, you know, in front of the patio. In terms of where you're looking to like leave the sides open, and or you know, sometimes something seems a little more personal if you have, even if it's an open railing or something adjacent to you, it sort of defines your space where, you know, my space ends at the railing and somebody else's space starts at the railing, so that if there's people walking by on a sidewalk or utilizing, you know, other businesses there, that, you know, sometimes it would be a little more personable to have, you know, spaces defined, and they don't necessarily have to be enclosed, but they sort of set up a limit as to, you know, how far, you know, you feel comfortable before somebody else interferes with your space, you know. And like you said, I don't see any more railings or anything. And I know that most of the times whenever we have, you know, some kind of a, you know, a patio system within, you know, an aggregate, you know, if you're standalone and you're the only one there, then that's one thing. But the fact that, you know, there could be other people who are going to be using that, you know, the parking lot and the sidewalks and everything else, it creates a little more intimate, you know, feel for, you know, the people who will be using that space. And I'm just wondering, did you consider that, or are you considering that? So that if you are going to do it, you might as well do it now, because you'd have to come back for, you know, revision or, you know, some kind of amendment to whatever.
Yeah, so we did, I don't think it was in the narrative. I don't know if I like really put everything in that as I should have. So we did get quotes for it. So they're a granite style aluminum heavy pickets and rails. So that would, it's actually not a mesh fence. It's
and again, it could be whatever you want, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely it's
you know, don't try to make a decision now. And
yeah, no, it's
staff, you know,
1.5 inch rails, 8 inch wide. So I think that is part of the proposal of the contractor who would be doing it.
All right. Yeah, and like you said, I don't see it on the plan, but if it is there, I think it'll make it a little more intimate and a little more
Yes,
cozy
yeah,
for the people who are using it.
yeah.
No,
Right.
we're definitely looking, we've been here, 20, going on 24 years, July. We want this thing to be nice, permanent, like a kind of the same thing we're doing in the restaurant. Very homey, very comfortable, and very safe at the same time. So, as far as the patio company that we have doing it and the fence company, this is all gonna be really nice, good looking stuff. It's gonna be, black post fence, 54.
All right, that, like you said, that I don't see it there, and I probably would agree with you that it would be a nice touch, and it creates safety and security and other things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Grillo.
Thank you, Commissioner. Definitely for the outdoor, I've eaten there, I've been there, I've seen it. The only thing that I have a concern with where you're putting that is where the parking lots, I can't remember. Was the ground up higher where that parking lot is?
Yes.
Right there in the front. My concern is if it isn't, to put some kind of a barrier, obviously the parking, because
Yep. It's a step up.
that's the only thing I noticed. I've seen it, but I can't remember. Sorry, I probably tripped over it 3 or 4 times going in to get my food, but that's because it looks like where you're putting it is close to where the parking is. That's cool that you have the walkway around it. I agree with Commissioner that it definitely should be fenced in, closed up, please. But pylons in the front, if it's really close, that's my only concern to that parking. I think it's probably just 2 parking spots, it looks like on the plan.
Yeah, I think it's only 2.5 that would be in front of it.
I don't have measurements in front of me or kind of a direct blueprint, but do you have an idea offhand how far that parking lot is to where that the table's pretty much the closed-in area is going to be? Just because I have a small print, but I can't scale off of this. Thank you for doing that, putting that up for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the exact measurements, but it's the standard width sidewalk, there'd be the fence, and then probably, on the other side of that would start where some seating. But we are looking to put a very heavy duty planters in front, decorative as barriers as well, and also to spruce it up and make it look a little nicer. So if there's any issues of
yeah, and now I see on this print, the plan I have does not say ballards in the front.
I got it.
But I see it, so I must have, it's on there, and I apologize. That was my only concern. Otherwise, I think it's a great idea. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Lauren.
You're not wrong, Commissioner Grillo. My plan doesn't show the ballards either.
Mine does.
Oh, okay. Well,
There's 2 of them, actually.
yeah, there you go. The second one does.
Second one will show it.
It was hidden.
2.
Okay, any other commissioners? Okay. At this time, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2999 284 North Maple for permanent outdoor dining? If so, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, hi, I'm Randy. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Randy.
Yes, I'm Randy Daigle. I live at 55 Cottage Road, and I'd like to commend the P&Z for considering allowing all these restaurants to do this in times of the hardship that they've been through. The fact that there is a good 6-inch curb before this patio area, I think it's really safe, and I'm all for it. I visit there frequently. I think allowing these guys to do this would be appropriate for the town. And like I said, I commend you guys for really considering these things to allow these restaurants to recoup what they've been through. And it's safe. I think it's a very safe design. Like I said, it's a curb there. They're going to put these planters in front. So I don't think it's any worry about pedestrians eating there. So I'm all for it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2999, 284 North Maple for permanent outside dining? If so, state your name and address for the record. Going for the first time.
Chairman Nelson, this is Charles McSotta, the fire chief up at Shaker Pines Fire.
Welcome, Charlie.
It's good to be here. Myself and the fire marshal have reviewed these plans. They do not affect the egress or entranceway into any of the other businesses there. So we're, again, when we sent back that there's no issues, but again, we're in favor of this. We also frequent the area. I also live on Cottage Road as a resident and frequent Bonavides. Last year when we were sitting out on the patio on a Saturday afternoon having our dinner, it's very nice there. And this is going to be a nice addition to that restaurant.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Public hearing 2999 for the first time, in favor or against? Please state your name and address for the record. Going for the second time. Going for the third time, public hearing 2999, 284 North Maple Street for permanent outdoor dining. Seeing none, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I just reviewed, I guess, the engineering comments that we received this afternoon about, public hearing 2999. And I guess he has a couple of, will there be a gate, to enter and exit the fenced-in area? Is there going to be any kind of protection from headlights of vehicles shining headlights into the, I guess the patrons, faces and whatnot? Is there going to be some kind of screening? So, what I would like to do is just add another site-specific condition that the concerns of the engineering department be addressed, to resolve any, potential conflicts with, I guess, building or engineering requirements, so that everything is sort of consistent with, what we would expect. But other than that, I think that I'm all for this myself in terms of, I think this is a great idea. And then we just want to make sure that we get, all our department comments, sort of resolved. And
Thank you.
and seeing that we got it in a late date, we need to sort of still address it. But we want to keep them going too.
Right. I would normally agree with you, Commissioner Suzak. Unfortunately, we just approved one before this without those conditions because engineering did not have the concerns, and they have a direct line of traffic heading right towards their tables outdoors, and we didn't require them to do anything. So this is one of the reasons why all our town departments need to get their comments in on time. And I have a feeling that many more restaurants are going to come to us requesting permanent outdoor dining, and maybe engineering can make a standard concern list and conditions that they want met for approval. But we can't ask of one that we haven't asked of another in the same meeting.
Yeah, and again, I'll withdraw that comment, other than the fact that, if the owners feel that it's in the best interest of their patrons, that they need some diffusion of headlights and whatnot, then they should possibly address those concerns and
Just having the patio the last year, there wasn't really any
modify everything that they're doing.
with the headlights, but this one, I think with the black fence there, it's gonna, obviously close it off more. And then having the ballards in the front where the cars would actually be pulling in,
Right.
alleviate any concern there.
Right.
So,
I mean, and Rich, I agree with you, because I was going to state the same thing on the previous application. But, this is kind of, the town needs to get us their comments, and they need to be uniform for all of them. So, how the police department doesn't have any concerns about a outdoor dining in the middle of a traffic lane is just bewildering. I mean, so,
with
so
that said, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing.
well, I want to reopen it to the public, Rich, because we brought up new points I don't want any problems for these people.
Right.
Any other commissioners' comments before I open it to the public? Seeing none, Is there anybody out there who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2999, 284 North Maple Street for permanent outdoor dining? If so, state your name and address for the record. Going for the first time? Going for the second time? And going for the third time? Seeing none? Now I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing 2999.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded by Commissioner DeGray. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Seeing none? Abstentions? It's unanimous to close the public hearing. How would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution to approve public hearing 2999 dated March 25th as prepared by the Planning Department with 17 total conditions listed in their resolution with 2 site-specific conditions.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded by Commissioner Grillo. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4,
Virginia Higley,
4.
Frank Alamo,
4,
John Petronella,
4.
Vinnie Grillo,
4.
and Richard Suzak is 4.
All in favor? None against? No abstentions? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a great summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, going back, public hearing 2997. Barbara, were you able to get on?
I think we are.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, let me
All
start.
right, thank you.
Let me start the public hearing. Go ahead, Rich.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Thank you.
Well, do I have to, I think that, okay, I'll just do roll call in terms of Ken Nelson.
Here.
Linda, oh, she's gone. Virginia Higley,
Here.
Frank Alamo,
Here,
John Petronella,
Here.
Vinnie Grillo,
Yeah.
and Richard Suzak is here.
Okay, is there anyone here for the applicant? If so, state your name and addresses for the record.
Hi, my name is Richard Pollock, and I am part owner of the property of 556 Hazard Avenue.
Welcome, Richard. Is there anyone else with you this evening?
My wife.
Will she be speaking?
No.
No. Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do, Richard.
We have a 2-story repair business, and the top is zoned for auto repair. Now the bottom is now occupied by a small engine repair business. And I did not realize that the zoning was different from auto repair for small engine repair. And we want to get a variance on the bottom for them to stay in business.
Okay. So we were given a bunch of pictures of the property, and I have some concerns, environmental concerns, about the amount of equipment that's in the back and how it's unprotected. What are you doing to maintain, any oil or anything that's leaking from these machines that are getting rained on every day, and, to prevent contamination of the soil?
I think when those pictures were taken, they were probably the busiest they have been in years. And right now, if you went down there, there's probably 6 or 7 machines just laying there. But I don't see there's any problem with oil or gasoline or...
Okay, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, because I actually, looked at the same problem in terms of, right now, the dirt, it's just a dirt driveway that leads to the back of the property, correct?
Yes, it is.
And in all that storage area in the back is really, it's not paved or it's not contained. It's just sitting on top of the ground so that
Correct.
there's nothing that would prevent or collect anything that would happen to leach out or do anything. So yeah, so basically, it is.
This has been in a business since 1940. Things have been going on like this for years, and there's never been a problem.
The only thing that happens is that there was no environmental protection laws until the 1970s, 1980s, when things started getting out of hand and people recognized that we needed to protect things. So I think that your grandfather to a certain point, but somewhere, especially if you're storing items, some type of mechanism should be in place to prevent any catastrophe, because to get environmental cleanup is very costly and can run into tens of thousands of dollars real easy, versus a little bit of prevention could save you quite a bit of money too. So and again, I realize it's an existing condition, but I think that it would be prudent to at least review the fact that if you're going to be storing items, then those items should be stored on something that could possibly prevent any kind of catastrophe from happening, because like you said, it's very costly to clean up environmental conditions. So with that said, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Suzak. I happen to know, I'm going to say 10 years ago, that actually was a storage facility for a gentleman who put up for sale signs. And none of this was back there at that time. So
What was this?
It was a storage facility for a gentleman who installed for sale signs for houses for sale.
Okay.
And, there was none of this equipment back there, and that was as little
And
as
before that, there was an auto body repair shop.
Upstairs.
Downstairs.
Oh.
From 85 till probably 2007.
Right, but you had said earlier that it's been this way forever, and it hasn't. This is something relatively new to this building. I mean, the outside storage of all this power equipment unprotected is a new use. I mean, the body shop might have been there back in the 80s and 90s, and there was that gentleman with the for sale signs. All that was previous. Maybe one of those would have been grandfathered in, but moving in a new business and trying to call it grandfathered in, with no protection back there at all. I mean, you got residential houses right there. I know gas caps are vented on all types of power equipment, and when it rains, water gets into the gas. That gas can fills up, the water and gas overflow out of the gas tank, and it goes onto the soil. That's not a good thing. I mean, normally you would store all this equipment indoors.
Well, I'm not in charge of where it's stored. That's part of the problem.
You own the building. You
I
own the
know.
building, so you aren't.
It's easier to tell someone what to do than to have them do it. That's the problem.
Commissioner Higley.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. Underneath the picture with all the equipment outside, staff notes, there isn't a provision for outdoor storage in business districts. So all of that stuff shouldn't be there. That's a violation. And if that was his busiest day of the year and he only has like a couple pieces normally, then those couple pieces should be stored inside and it shouldn't be a problem. But that is not allowed and that's a violation. I don't see how we can approve a violation. Thank
Right,
you.
and I think we've established that it's not a grandfathered use. This is a relatively new use for the
Correct.
lower part of this facility.
You know, I can't guarantee you that he will store all his equipment inside.
Right, we're trying to work with you, Mr. Pollock.
I know.
That the point is, if you go to him and say, look, you got two choices. You either get all that equipment out of the back or you got to move. Because it's a violation, and I would really think you'd be concerned about the environmental hazards to your property. I mean, you have all those apartments back there and, you know, that leaches through. It's just not a good thing. I mean, look
No.
at all that equipment there. You can't tell me that one of those machines doesn't have a blown motor with a hole in the block where the oil is leaking out of it. It's just not possible.
I understand. I can talk to him and
Oh, wow.
I'll give him an ultimatum that either keep all your equipment inside or you're gonna have to leave.
Lori, do you have any input? Or Jen? I don't know which one of you is handling this.
That I wrote the staff report. So basically, there isn't a provision, as Commissioner Higley had stated, for outdoor storage in business zones. So the standards that we normally have under the industrial district don't apply. In the past, the town attorney's office has said that if it's not provided for in the regulations, it's not allowed. I sort of left it to the commission's interpretation as the commission does interpret the regulations. As far as environmentally, there really aren't wetlands or aquifer or flood zones in this area, although I do understand the commission's concern for just general contamination. This application in particular is a special permit for the expansion of the non-conforming use. The repair of motor vehicles has been allowed there for many years, but it was only really for one tenant that we have on file for an approval. And it's also a business local zone, and that type of use normally isn't allowed in this zone. But again, your regulations do allow applicants to apply with a special permit to expand those non-conforming uses. So that's really what this application is being reviewed under, is that section for non-conforming uses.
Right, but this particular application right here has nothing to do with automotive repair.
No, it doesn't.
And that's where the grandfathered use would be and the continued non-conforming use, but this is a new use. And, you know, nothing about it is permitted here. Are outside storage containers allowed, Jen?
I believe the commission would have to approve those on a regular basis. In the office, we approve those outdoor temporary storage containers, but again, they're temporary, so.
Right, but what I was trying to work with the applicant, and I'm not even sure where the commission's going to go with this, but, you know, if the applicant tenants would request, you know, during the busy season, you know, a temporary outdoor storage unit to put the equipment in so it's undercover, you know, temporary, obviously just for the busy months, which I'm sure right now everybody's getting ready for spring, you know, so he doesn't lose a tenant.
Let me.
I could ask him and
well,
see if he would.
Let's see what the commission says first. Commissioner Petronella, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. How about a screened-in area, a fenced area that's screened, that's 6 feet high, that where he can put storage in. It would be screened for the most part. And also with respect to the eastern boundary, there's a wooden stockade fence there now existing. And I noticed on the southern boundary, there's a row of evergreen type of trees. I'm not sure what exactly they are, but I'd like to see some sort of a landscape buffer along that fence line to protect, because you're looking at the apartments, and if you really look at that, there should be something up there to create a better buffer for a sight line to, from those apartments, they can see right down into the area with those, with all that storage area where those lawnmowers are parked and so forth. But I think that that would be certainly beneficial to help provide good screening as well. Thank you.
If Commissioner Petronella, if he provided good screening, are you willing to allow the outdoor storage of the power equipment?
Well, I'm not opposed to that. I would be willing to consider an area with screening or a fence around where he would have some outside storage. And I'm not sure that if that's within our purview. I don't want to open up another issue with business zone properties, but if we're going to allow this, and if there's going to be outside storage, I think it should be minimal, but I think it should be screened, somehow screened. You were proposing something like a Connex box or storage containers and so forth. And I'm saying maybe a fenced in area that screens it off, and not a chain link fence, obviously, but something that's solid that'll screen it off totally.
Right. I was proposing the Connex box only because of the outside storage not being allowed. And a Connex box would be temporary. So maybe 1 or 2 months in the summer, he could do that, which would enclose it and be hidden from outside. But I agree with you 100%. I don't want to open Pandora's box about allowing this outdoor storage of equipment, especially the type of equipment that it is. A Connex box doesn't leak oil all over the place.
Yeah, it'll help contain that, but also with respect to that, I look around town, and there's a lot of those boxes on business zone properties all over town, and people are using them more and more, whether they're permitted or not. I'm just seeing an awful lot of them.
Right. Okay. Thank you, John.
Excuse
Commissioner
me,
Grillo.
if they move everything inside and have no outside storage, would that be acceptable?
That's what we're working on right now. We should have an answer for you shortly, I hope. Commissioner Grillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Petronelli, I understand what Chairman Nelson is saying too. Putting in the screened-in area would definitely enclose it, but it won't help Chairman Nelson's theory on the leakage or what's sitting there now, because if you screened it in, everything that you're looking at right now out here would be in that screened-in area. And correct me if I'm wrong, that building that I'm looking at with them windows on the second floor, wouldn't they be able to still see over into that screened-in area? I'm just saying, and that looks like a residence to me. I personally don't know that property very well. I did do a quick drive-by, but the screening area will not, it would block it from the road, that's it, but it wouldn't help out with any of that grease and oil. Remember, this is a small engine repair. They're there to get repaired. It's not put gas in it. There's things wrong with it. The outside storage, me personally, it doesn't belong there. If I'm not mistaken from what I'm hearing, it's really not allowed there. This shouldn't be outside. It should be put inside, period. And you don't want container boxes, in my eyes. We just approved some, but now you're looking at these big tractor trailer boxes across the whole backyard of that. That's just my opinion, sir. Thank you.
Now, is the main problem with the outdoor storage? Because if it is, I would just tell them that if you park anything outside of the building, we're just going to have to leave. We'll just have to make a rule, and hopefully they'll abide by it.
Right. See, this was one of the reasons that if the proper procedure was followed and it came to us, we would have put that stipulation on the tenant. So it would have helped you enforce it. And now it's kind of after the fact, he's in your building and, you know, it don't look good for your building. And if you try to get a tenant upstairs, I don't know what's upstairs, but you know, if I was looking to rent upstairs, I sure wouldn't want that in my backyard.
The upstairs is already rented.
Yeah. Okay.
He's waiting for his license.
Okay. Commissioner Suzak.
I'll be right back. My battery's low and I had to plug it in, so I don't have all my stuff.
Okay, no problem.
But I guess, you know, I have to go get my things. But anyways, the only thing that I would like to say is that, you know, we should be willing to work with them in terms of, we could say that there will be no outside storage, but if there is the need for some outside storage, that it should be in a protected container box or, you know, some other, you know, system that would, you know, create environmentally sound and, you know, not necessarily, you know, contaminate or, and, you know, possibly, you know, screen some of the items that are there. So,
right. Which would be the normal protocol for a temporary outside storage.
Correct. Right. So realistically, there is no outside storage, but if there is a need, he should be able to at least have the opportunity to utilize that need.
Right.
So, all right. Thank you. I'll be back in a little bit.
Okay. Commissioner Higley, I saw you doing a lot of nodding. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just get animated sometimes. The concern I have, and maybe staff can give me some guidance, is I don't understand how we can approve something that's not in our zoning regulations. I agree that he should keep it inside. Yes, he can get one of those temporary permits from the zoning enforcement officer for his big times, but the whole thing is he's repairing them. So it behooves him to get it in, get it fixed, and get it out, and get the next one. And I just don't think it's a good idea to allow him to have things like that in his backyard. Thank you.
Right. So no outside storage.
Correct. Okay. Unless, like you said, he could have the temporary permit from the zoning enforcement officer.
Which would be temporary, and that's why we have
Correct.
the permits. Yep. Okay.
Correct.
If we had a temporary permit and see how things go, can we work from there?
Well, that's what we're trying to work on right now. We're trying to work on it that we approve the use for you. All equipment is to remain indoors, which we may be limiting your tenant on his busy seasons, but we would allow your tenant to come to the town and apply for a temporary storage container, which is only good for a certain amount of time. So say the 2 months in the spring when he's really busy, he could get a temporary container dropped, store the equipment inside, get through his busy season, and then the container's got to go.
Okay.
So that would help you keep your tenant and also help you protect your grounds. And it puts it on him. Now, if he does not follow those regulations that we approve tonight, hopefully, then, you know, he's going to have to leave, and you have the town's regulations in your favor. You know, I mean,
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Very good.
screening and everything else, I understand, but there's already a 6-foot stockade fence and second floor windows. They're not going to help. But at least if it's inside a container, it keeps the weather off it. You're looking at one container instead of, 40 pieces of broken equipment.
Right.
Commissioner Petronella.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I agree with that philosophy, how Commissioner Suzak stated. The application before us is to allow small injury, and we're just going to consider that, which in that business does not allow for outside storage. So if he wants to go for temporary outside storage, he's got to apply for that, or wants to seek permanent outside storage, he's got to reapply to us anyway. So right now, as it sits, if we approve this, he's not allowed any outside storage, and he'd be in violation if he did store. So with that, I think we can certainly act on this tonight.
Thank you.
Great, that sounds good.
Go ahead, Lori.
I just want to remind the applicant that if there is outside storage and we have to go through an enforcement procedure, the enforcement procedure goes to the landowner. So you would be the one cited and have to pay the fees that would be accrued. So I just want you to be aware of that.
Oh, I'm aware of it now.
Well, it gives you a little meat behind your authority with your tenant, and
Yes,
you're
right.
gonna
I
have
understand
something, you're gonna have something in writing from the town, and I would give them a copy of it and say, look, I just had to go through all of this for you because of that outside storage. You can't have it. And, I don't know if you can pass the cost on to him if you end up having to get rid of them, but that's outside of our purview. And I hope you see that the entire commission is trying to work with you to save this.
I do, I appreciate it.
Yeah. And, he's got to be willing to work with you also. So, this is a public hearing. So if nobody has any more comments, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against public hearing 2997, 556 Hazard Avenue, a special permit to expand non-conforming use to accommodate a second tenant to repair small engines? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Going for the first time. Going for the second time. And going for the third time. Okay, seeing none. Lori, was this property posted?
Yes, it was. Rick posted the sign out there.
Okay, thank you. All right, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close public hearing 2997.
Motion's made. Is there a second? Anyone?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Grillo. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? And just for the record, Linda DeGray recused herself from this. So the public hearing is closed. It's unanimous. How would you guys like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for public hearing 2997 as prepared by the Planning Department dated March 25th, 2021. And presently there are 24 total conditions with one site-specific condition. And I believe that we want to add an additional site-specific condition that there will be no outdoor storage. And if some storage is required, they would have to apply for a temporary storage facility with the town.
I would also, if the commission wouldn't mind, I would like to put in there that the tenant has 15 days to remove all the outside storage that's present.
Good idea.
This way it doesn't drag out for 6 months.
Good idea.
Anybody else? How do you guys feel?
I'm okay with it.
Agreed, yep.
Okay,
Fine.
so if we could make that another condition,
Okay, I'll make that condition 7B. So basically, there's now 26 conditions with 3 site-specific conditions.
okay, motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Petronella. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
4.
Virginia Higley,
4.
Frank Alamo,
4.
John Petronella,
4.
Amy Grillo,
4.
and Richard Suzak 4.
All in favor, none against. You're all set, Mr. Pollock.
Great.
And good luck with the tenant, and just make it very
Thank you.
clear to
Thank you
him.
very much.
Make it very clear to him, no outside storage. If he
I will.
wants it,
I
he
definitely
has to
will.
come. Okay, thank you. Have a great night.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, moving on to public hearings, D, XZA number 21-01.
Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their next regular meeting on Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. concerning the following application. XSP. In a advertisement, it's XSP 2101. Text amendment application to section 4.8 to allow an increase in the lot coverage for smaller properties located within the Lake Overlay District, Town of Enfield applicant. Ken Nelson.
Here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
Virginia Higley.
Here.
Frank Alamo.
Here.
John Petronella.
Here.
Amy Grillo.
Here.
And Richard Suzak.
Okay, the applicant,
That would be the town.
welcome. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Jen. I work for the planning office.
Welcome. Tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
So we had worked with the commission previously on, or we discussed it briefly, on providing some relief as to lot coverage within the Lake Overlay districts. As the commission may know, the lots over there, they vary vastly in size. Some are really big and some are very, very small. And a lot of them are already over their lot coverage with just having a house on their property or maybe a small storage area. But the overall residential 33 lot coverage is limited to 20%. And as we had previously discussed, it might make sense to allow properties that are 11,000 square feet or smaller to have a little more lot coverage. And that number that we had discussed was allowing them up to 25%. So we did distribute this to both Lake Districts associations. And we also, of course, sent it to the Capital Region Council of Governments for review, and they didn't have any comment on it. So that's what the proposal is. And I believe there are some Lake District residents who probably are on this call who have some input as well.
Thank you, Jen. Again, we had a lot of discussion about this, and one of my concerns is allowing larger lot coverage, which I don't have a problem with. I'm just concerned that due to the fact that they're restricted so much if they're lakefront with the restricted area in the wetlands, that forces them basically, the back 100 feet of their property is unusable. They have a road on the back side of them, which would be considered a front yard also. So, am I correct, Jen?
It's tricky. See, the regulations say that anything that you want to put in the Lake Districts requires a special permit, whether it's an addition to your house or an accessory structure. And the regulations also say that elsewhere in the regulations, the front yard is the rear yard and the rear yard is the front yard. The thing is that the regulations don't actually say that anywhere. So
Right,
for
and-
all intents and purposes, the commission has previously reviewed Lake District regulations with the backyard and the rear yard sort of reversed from the norm. So,
Right, because like me living on a corner lot, I have 2 front yards and a side yard. I don't have a backyard because they're calling both roadways my front yard. So with them having a front yard to the lake, and I'm going to consider it a front yard to the road, you're really squishing these properties into a small area, even though we're giving them a larger lot coverage without encroaching in a setback. I don't know that we'd be willing to help them. So my concern is there a way that if it's a site plan on every one of them or a special permit on every one of them anyways, do we do something that we add into the regulation that we have the ability to adjust a setback to meet this if they can't meet it?
so that would require a different or an additional amendment. The regulations did try to provide some sort of relief as to setbacks, but the standard that was adopted was that the setbacks, whether it be front, rear, or side, can be reduced consistent with the average that exists for the block face. And when we did the calculations for what that might look like, the average for the block face wound up being more than the actual required setbacks. So they did try to help, but it wasn't, it didn't really help. And plus block face never really got defined. And if you look up what a block face is, an entire block face might be all of Cottage Road, which has over 100 properties just on that alone. So
I also, Mr. Chairman, sort of recalled that through the discussions, I thought, well, I believed that you, as the commission, didn't want to start addressing the setbacks, that you just wanted to deal with the percentages, because we had proposed that at first.
Yeah.
And we figured that this was probably the quickest and easiest fix. And if they can't fit whatever the 25% coverage is in whatever their envelope is, then they can't fit it.
Right.
That means they got way too much stuff.
Right. But you understand what I'm saying about
Yeah,
the confines. And, you know, I could really see, you know, it becoming a problem for a lot of these lakefront properties, the smaller ones. You know, they can only go wide or they can't go front or back, which limits them huge. And I think the whole point of us doing this was to try to give them the equal ability to do what's already been done there on many of the other properties, is expanding. I don't know how the commission feels about it, but I had concerns back then about it. And I still, if you think about it and you put it on paper, you know, if you can't move forward, can't move backwards, you're forced to go sideways. Go ahead, Commissioner Suzak.
You know, I agree with what you're saying in terms of, you know, I think that, you know, at initially what we should do is keep our regulations the way they are. And then if there's a hardship that occurs, you know, for somebody trying to fit something and it's a viable, you know, reason why they're violating, you know, the setbacks, then we always have that discretion to, you know, modify or accept, you know, that, you know, or we can look at it, you know, a little closer to try to determine a way that we can help them out with whatever plight they might have. But, you know, in terms of just, you know, blatantly changing all the setbacks might open up a can of worms, and that, you know, if you can fit in within those setbacks, then that's fine. If you can't, then let's see what we can do for you.
Right, and I think you said it better than what I was trying to say. It would definitely be a case-by-case basis. You know, if they can move forward or backwards, you know, then they're gonna have to, but so you said it better. So it would definitely be.
I think if that's the direction that you are leaning towards, I think that we're all leaning in that direction. I think that, consistently, we've always done that before, so.
Right.
Even though.
I don't want to blanket change anything.
Correct,
Right.
correct. And that we would be receptive to some modifications based upon a case-by-case, analysis of what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Suzette. Commissioner Higley. You're muted. Boy, everybody's having audio difficulties tonight.
Okay, I got it.
There you go.
Thank you. This is a text amendment application to allow an increase in lot coverage for smaller properties for the Lake Overlay District. Shouldn't we have a percent increase, an actual percent increase, like a 20% lot increase or a 40% lot increase, rather than just saying an increase? I mean,
that's what all the studies were done for. I mean, we kind of came up with this based on all of the statistics that we analyzed each lot from.
So you don't put a percentage, you just say increase.
Well, there is a 25% is the maximum.
Yeah, it's 25%.
It doesn't say that though in the actual wording.
Yes, it does. It says 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down, Jenny, under the proposed.
I think Jenny's just looking at the agenda.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you got to look at the actual application, Jenny.
Okay.
There is actual wording.
One part does say
Not the-
20 and one says 25.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm looking at
Repeats
the
itself.
actual application,
Yeah,
and it just says
20
make
20.
more lot coverage.
There was an attached actual form of, or the actual regulation, and at the bottom in red was the exact language. The application asks that the exact language be attached, so that's where it is. It's.
You see, to allow increase up to 25%.
You mean this one? No, yes.
That is, we did include the spreadsheet which showed the analysis we did for the properties in both lake districts.
Well, sorry
pertaining-
about that. I'm glad it says it because I can't find it, but as long as it says 25% or whatever it is, that's great. Thank you.
So everybody
Lori
see this?
put it up. Yeah, Lori put it up on the screen. So
You see that, Jenny? You're muted again. You're muted again, Jenny.
Thank you. I didn't get that one, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
And I hate mute.
I'm going to say for the most part, I don't think the noise is coming from the commissioners that's interfering with the meeting. So I wouldn't worry too much
Thank you.
about it. All right, commissioners, any other questions?
Just one thing.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. As far as if they need to adjust their side yards or any frontage and setback, because the land is creating a hardship for them, they could actually go to ZBA, the Zoning Board of
Yes.
Appeal, for variance.
That's what
So,
started all this.
yeah, so, they
I mean,
wouldn't have to come to us. So I think this kind of covers a lot of the issues, but the other ones, the other issues that may come up, ZBA would be handling them. So. I don't have a problem with this one.
This isn't an all-encompassing fix. This is just giving some leeway for the
Yeah,
smaller
help them out.
lots.
Right. Right. Okay. Is this, do I go to the public with this, Lori? Yes,
Yes.
okay. Commissioners, any other comments?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna open it to the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against XZA 21-01, a text amendment application to section 4.80 to allow an increase in lot coverage for smaller properties located within the Lake Overlay District? Town of Enfield is the applicant. If so, please state your name and address for the record.
Go ahead.
William Creedon, 57 Cottage Road, Enfield, Connecticut. I know that you've spent a lot of time on this and coming up with the 11,000 square feet and the 25% lot coverage. I'm in favor of it. Don't have a problem with it whatsoever. I just have a couple of questions. It shows on your attachment, it says that the commission may approve this increase. So I assume that that's going to be still under a special permit application rather than a administrative review. Also, it's been stated by the commission that you know, we have wetland problems, we have certain things. If you look at the wetland maps out here, the wetlands end at the walls for the most part. We do have flooding problems. We do have certain other things that are covered under your flood zone regulations. But and in regards to the statement about reducing front yards or rear yards or side yards, I agree with Commissioner DeGray that that's something that should have to go to the ZBA, and that there's certain areas out here, as long as you meet the requirements for the side yard and the front yard setbacks, that there's a lot of buildable areas on a lot of these lots that are available for construction without going for that. But this allows you to increase the lot coverage to 25%. I'm in favor of it. But it still requires, I mean, the way this is written, it says the commission may approve. It's not an administrative review.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor or against XZA 21-01? If so, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, this is Liz Beninato, number 8 Lake Drive.
Welcome, Liz.
Hi. I had a question, just more of clarification. The sides of the, you know, from my property to the side, is that going to come under 25 feet, or is it, how far can I build from my side yard to the property line?
We'd have to look that up for you specifically, but my guess, knowing the properties out there, is your side yard setbacks would be probably 10 feet.
Okay. I didn't know if that was changing it within this, so
No.
that was my only question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. No, we're not changing the side yard setbacks at this time.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor or against XZA 21-01? If so, state your name and address for the record for the first time. Going for the second time. And the third time, XZA 21-01. For the third time. Okay, seeing none, how would the commission like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close XZA 2101, the public hearing for XZA 2101.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner DeGray. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. And how would you guys like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the text amendment XZA 2101 to allow an increase in the coverage to 25% for properties of 11,000 square feet or less located within the Lake Overlay District.
Is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded by Commissioner Grillo. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Virginia Higley,
4.
Frank Alamo,
4.
John Petronella,
4.
Vinnie Grillo,
4.
and Richard Suzakis 4.
All in favor, none against? It's all set. Thank you, Jen and Lori. I appreciate you working on that. Moving on, old business, I don't see any. New business, I don't see any.
Nope.
And other business, 8-24 referrals.
I believe there are 3. Oh, Lori, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll do them. Yeah. You've been working all night. Yeah, so the town is through their consolidation plans and also just expansion of the community gardens. They've got a couple things going. The first one is 558 Enfield Street, which is Lafayette Park. And essentially all they're doing is replacing the basketball court. So there's one there that's pretty dilapidated and run down, and they're just replacing it so kids could play
Did
safely
you
there.
say the address again? You said 558 Enfield Street, Lafayette Park?
558 Enfield Street, which is
Yeah.
Lafayette Park. It's actually located at the end of Hartford Avenue.
Yeah, but it's not Enfield Street.
That's the
Lafayette.
official address.
It
It's just
it
how
is
the
the
GIS.
official address because it's part of the sewer plant or I guess I forget.
The pump station.
Oh, there's a pump
Yeah, the
station
pump
back
station,
there.
thank
Okay.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Ken. So basically, they're just literally just replacing an existing basketball court.
Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we have a positive referral to the town council on this referral to 558 Enfield Street.
Motion's made and seconded.
Who seconded that?
No, is there a second?
Oh, is there a second?
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Alamo. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, it's unanimous. Can you ask the town council to put the pool back in over there?
I can. I can ask them all sorts of things.
I remember 6 years old playing in that pool when I was little.
Wow.
Yeah. B, 824 referral, 1010 Enfield Street, Alcorn School, proposal for new basketball courts.
Right, and that is similar, although actually this is a new basketball court. It's not a replacement. They are also putting some community gardens there, and they've also moved a lot of the Enfield services there. So, and I think I gave you a plan for that. Maybe not.
That's in there.
And the commission admin approved this at the last meeting.
Right.
Commissioners, questions, concerns, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we have a positive referral to 1010 Enfield Street, the Alcorn School, the new basketball court, to the town council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Commissioner Alamo. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Moving on to C, 8-24 referral for 124 North Maple Street, Enfield Annex, proposed Butler Building in North Parking Lot.
That's pretty much the description. There's a picture attached. This is for Public Works to have additional storage area.
And it's within all the setbacks and.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Commissioners? Questions, comments? None? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion again, that we provide a positive 824 referral to the town council regarding 124 North Maple Street, proposed Butler Building in the north parking lot.
Great, motion's made. Is there a second?
I'll second it again.
Who, I think Linda.
Oh, go ahead.
Linda, did you second that? Motion's made and
Yes.
seconded by Linda DeGray. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on, discussion items, discussion regarding 28 Maple Avenue.
So we provided the commission with updated plans. You'll see that there is the foundation as built, which is dated, I believe, December 2020. It takes that notation off that the original foundation was going to be put back where it was, and it shows where the foundation just was already installed and it's no longer on town property. So there are also elevations that show that the building will be put back to how it was prior to demolition. And we also included a street view of the building so the commission could see that the elevations are matching the street. And that street view is from 2012. So this isn't an application, again. It's just the applicant or the owner of the property is just showing the commission that he's putting it back to a 2-family because the commission did not approve the change to a 3-family, and there is no proposed addition to the building.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Commissioners?
Jen, there were some comments, I believe, concerning this that you emailed us this afternoon. I didn't get to read them all, but
It wasn't concerning 28 Maple Avenue. That was the comments
Right.
received were from other applications.
okay, all right, just making sure. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'd like to see if we could put this one to bed.
Well, that's why I wanted to do it administratively and you guys said no. I mean, it's going back.
All our past concerns,
The way it was.
all our past concerns look like they've been satisfied, right?
All right. There really isn't a motion that needs to be made here, but I would just report it out to Rick and he can sign off on the building permit, which is still pending in the building department. So.
Everybody satisfied?
I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Lori. I appreciate it. Okay, correspondence. Any?
I don't have anything. I mean, we did have the POCD steering committee kickoff meeting last week. The presentation was pretty much the same as what was presented to planning and zoning at the last meeting. And that's all I have for now. I don't know, Lori, do you have anything?
Do you have a list of the people that are on it, the makeup of the committee?
I know, Lori, you're muted.
There is one in terms of,
So I just told you a whole story. I do, but I don't have it right here.
No, can we get it in the future?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, we appointed Bill Lee as chairman of the committee.
Okay. Yeah, and I was gonna say their name and their affiliations.
Affiliations has nothing to do with it, Frank.
Well, didn't we say,
Politics don't come into
No,
this.
no, no,
but I
no,
can
no,
tell
no,
you
no, no.
what groups they're coming from.
no, right, not affiliate, I didn't mean politics wise, I meant groups, because we're going to have people from each commission. and-
PVC, conservation.
Yeah, that's what I meant, I didn't
zoning,
mean politics, no.
Yeah, town council.
Yep.
Okay.
The only thing that I would like to say is that I would have liked to see, maybe 3 public, participants from the public versus just one. I think that's all we have is that, just to get a wider range of opinions from the public, but
How many do we have from the public?
just one.
Just one?
Just one.
Wow.
I've been trying to get a farmer, but there's been some issues with computers and Wednesday nights and some other things. So I'm still trying on that.
I mean, like you said, if we can get a more diverse perspective from the public, it would benefit everybody involved versus, just a one public, obviously we're all public figures, but we're all looking at it from different vantage points. But, somebody who has no preconceived idea of what they're looking at it from could give us some more insight for, just the general public input.
Do you have anybody in mind?
I thought there was going to be more public participation. I think in the past there was.
No, we're
Gary
talking 2 different
Raffia.
things here. One's public participation, and that we are going to try to do a lot more of. It's just very hard to invite the public to these virtual meetings because usually it's a big group of people and we have maps in front of us and markers and dots and whatnot. But what Rich is referring to is actually having a member of the public on the steering.
That's what I meant. More public on the committee.
Right. Okay. So if anybody has a recommendation,
Have we reached out to Eppendorf?
I did not reach out to Eppendorf as far as like getting the lead person there. I just felt that they probably wouldn't have a real good.
Some, vice president or junior vice president or somebody who has an idea of what their direction they're going and what they would like to see Enfield do. It doesn't necessarily always got to be the CEO because we're not going to get him.
He's come from Germany for us.
Yeah.
I think if you made a phone call, Rich.
Das ist richtig.
It's just a six.
You speak German, Lori?
No. I took 1 semester in college. And that's all I remember. That and I have German relatives.
Okay. Well, if any of the commissioners have recommendations that they can give Lori and Jen, somebody to reach out to, I mean, feel free. But I mean, there's 45,000 residents in Enfield.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's why I thought having the chairman of the North Central Chamber of Commerce was good, just because that's somebody that actually connects with and hears from the public, whether it be small business or large businesses or farmers or whatever. So I thought that would give at least a broader perspective from one individual.
well, what about somebody, I mean, what about somebody like Scott Copen? I mean, or Pat Tallarita? I mean, they were very much involved in the day and they know the process. They know the weaknesses throughout town. I mean, they're public people. I mean, they're not in politics anymore. I'm just trying to throw out names, somebody who's been involved with the whole town, because we want somebody who's going to add input, who knows the town, all of it.
Well, I know I've been dealing with Pat Tallarita lately. I could always ask him, and I could reach out to Scott Copen, of course. I know him from the past.
Yeah. I mean, Kathy, I mean, somebody, I'm just throwing names out there. I don't know who to reach out to, but, I mean, Charlie Duran, I mean, he's got 20 years experience on planning and zoning. He knows where the weaknesses are. Tony DePace.
Charlie Ladd.
Well, I asked Charlie if he would stay on this when he resigned from the PZC, and he said that he did not think so.
Okay.
No, but he would come on as a participant. He would come on.
Well, I asked if he'd stay on the steering committee, and he said no. So
right. All
But
right, so, I mean, I
I'll,
gave you
I'll
some,
reach out to a couple of these people. Of
Yep.
course, that'd be great.
okay. Director of Development Services report.
We lost the casket building. That's all I have to say.
It just walked away?
Burned down.
It just became little pieces, a lot of little pieces.
Yeah.
Very sad. Very
Yep.
sad.
Yep. So, hey,
No, we're working on a lot of stuff. I'm working on updating the master plan for the TIF so we could actually get some money into the TIF. We're going to we're going to change the original assessed value of the TIF area to what it actually became after we adopted this. So, and that way we'll actually get money into the TIF. So, because it was decreased because of the mall.
Okay.
So that's one thing I'm working on. And we're working on hiring a new assistant town planner. We have offered it to somebody, and so far they're going to accept. We'll see what happens until they sign on the dotted line. I'm just crossing my fingers, and it was a good candidate. We're just moving forward, just going all over the place.
Good.
How about some discussion with the mall owners? We talked about visions last meeting, and
Yeah,
we're
but
all a little stuck.
we'll get there.
Can you reach out to them, or will they?
Well, I've already reached out to them, just kind of giving them a heads up that we're going to be looking to do that. But until we actually get to that component and whatnot, it's, you know, it's a little bit too soon. But they know that we're going to be looking to do this on a couple different spokes, because one will be with the traffic study that CROG is going to conduct around the mall, and the other one would be with the POCD. So.
Okay. Do they have a date yet for the tear down of the Strand Theater?
No. Oh, we're just trying to get an assessment at this point as to what it's going to take.
What are the chances of getting a tour of that building?
0 to none, because it's so contaminated, they won't let you in.
Okay. Have
Oh,
you
and
been
that's
in?
the other thing I am working on is our POCD actually expires April 7th. So in order to keep Enfield in the running for discretionary funding, we have to send a letter to DECD, DEEP, OPM, and I'm missing one. I'm forgetting what the other one is right now, but basically we just have to tell them that, you know, we're working on it and we plan on getting it done. And we're going to give them we're going to request a year extension. Hopefully we're not going to need that, but as we come out of COVID, we're thinking that we might be able to have more poignant community involvement, especially with our marginalized communities. So so we're going to ask for the year, but hopefully we're going to be done by the end of the end of this fiscal year.
Because Lori, when we did those interviews, you know, with the different candidates, you know, I think that at that time we had discussed the possibility, because of the governor's directives, that, you know, everything was going to be delayed a year. So even if our POCD needed to be, you know, developed by April, you know, 7th of 2021, because of the delay and getting it, you know, very difficult to actually accomplish any kind of meetings or any kind of, you know, consistent progress in reviewing things, that, you know, it would have been delayed for that year based upon the governor's directive.
I think that we did discuss that, and I think ultimately the governor just extended it just 90 days. So, and we're just not going to have it done in that time frame. So
Okay, I
And,
thought
you
it
know,
was.
this is not a very unusual thing, and especially since we went into this right at the beginning of COVID-19, you know, we've been going at a snail's pace than we would normally have gone at. So I think they'll understand that, but we need to make sure that we do this so we will still be eligible for discretionary funding. So we have to actually attach this to any grant application that the town applies for.
Well, I think if you just send an email to the new chairman of the POCD and tell him it's got to be done by April 7th, get working.
Yeah, I think Bill would like that. He's got nothing better to do. So I'll have to have town manager sign that and send it in to OPM and the other organizations.
Great, thank you.
Something else to be
Okay.
working on.
All set?
Yep.
Okay. Administrative approval report. You're muted, Jen. Finally.
Whoops.
Normally it's Lori you're yelling at.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good about unmuting, but you got me. So that's just for, we did an administrative approval for a dog groomer to go into the plaza where Lulu's is. The unit is not near Lulu's. And historically, the commission has handled dog grooming as a personal service, and there's already several personal service operations in that plaza. So just so you know, there's a new dog groomer in town.
Do you know the name of the company?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay. That's it?
That's it for the moment. We have a few pending applications in the office.
Okay.
One of them is for Porcellos. We're working with them on an application for a new building. So that'll be coming forward to the commission once we work through a few site plan things.
On that property? On Enfield Street?
Yes.
They're gonna tear down the old garage?
At Porcello's property, a new building?
Yes, there is an area where there are a few trailers and another sort of accessory storage building, and they want to just clean that area up and put a building in to house the stuff that's already there. So they're looking to clean up a portion of the property that could probably use it.
Okay, great. Applications to be received?
Well,
Was that one of them?
There's that one. We don't have any other pending public hearing applications currently. We are working with an amazing amount of people who are looking to come in with applications. So I think we're gonna have a pretty busy summer. And we also have several temporary outdoor dining applications that are coming in. Those are all handled by Rick. Pretty much he circulates them just like last season to all of the pertinent departments who need to sign off, and then they're good to go. We have TGI Fridays was one of them, and 99 Restaurant. Of course, we're not sure how long the temporary outdoor dining is going to be allowed to continue per the governor's orders, and I'm not sure what we're going to be doing moving forward, if anything, to allow more temporary outdoor dining during this time. But we do have people who are looking to apply, so that might just translate into more permanent outdoor dining applications, who knows. But we are preparing for that. And other than that, that's all I have.
Jen, I have a question for you on the outside dining. 2 weeks ago, the council asked the town attorney to, I think, contact us to find out if there was anything that we're going to be able to do to help the people out there that are in need of outside dining going forward. So did we get any kind of correspondence from the town attorney to the planning and zoning yet?
You can't. The town council has no authority over planning and zoning.
I'm just stating what I've seen on the meeting. The town council ask the town attorney to ask us. That's all I'm asking, if anything. I just inquired.
I could speak to that briefly. I know that the town attorney is looking at other communities to see what they are doing, but I think it's through ordinance, not planning and zoning.
Okay. I did see that portion of the council meeting when they reached out to him. Thank you.
Right. Okay, opportunities and unresolved issues. Planning and zoning, merging with wetlands, nothing's come about on that yet, unless Lori's got something.
No, I just keep laughing because it's still there.
Yeah, and it's hopefully soon.
One of these days, right?
Yeah, yeah, well, we've been in a real strange time over the last year, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, unless somebody's got something else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, all.
Good
Lori,
night.
Lori,
Yes.
is